tip behind him. That's going to be a spin from Goodell. Maybe no, he catches it. How in the world did he catch that?
I have no idea, and I'm not sure Ryan Goodell did either, but he comes back onto the track. A little bit of a checkup there around him. That was incredible.
And taking advantage of that, Clayton Ham. Let's take another look at this replay. The 14, all sorts of sideways, and it starts to look like the car wants to go again. That's why he went on the apron. I thought maybe he just was slow and was trying to get out of the way, but he had to save it twice. We are indeed Brunschweiler to the inside of the pair of them. That might not necessarily be the best line unless he can get it woed up in time. He's the bravest on the brakes, and he is going to get it. Wow, the 4 moves up to 5th in a 2-in-1 move. Side by side between Burns and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has the inside, but not a nose ahead at first under braking. It starts to go back ahead. They're going to go wheel to wheel through here, giving each other space. Now it's a drag race, DJ, on who gets to the line first.
And it's going to be a shorter line there for David Burns, but it's not giving any room by Johan Vanderbilt. They're going to dive down into the corner. Little bit of bumping and banging, but who's it going to be? I think it's Burns by 22 thousandths of a second.
Meanwhile, up towards the front for TCRs, this has now swapped. Waring has swapped with Hardman. That took place last time by down the front stretch. Now looking to swap back. Look at this. Ascend to the inside. Hardman runs along the curb in the hairpin and just about completes the pass and does. Battle for second now up as Wager tries to send his way in for Britannia Ice Sports.
Wow, this is a three-way battle for that first position. All these guys are fighting for the lead. This is
3 wide.
Really nice 3 wide going into Cunningham around to Collier. I can't tell who's going to make it out of this in front of this whole pack, but it looks like it's going to still be Hardman. Andrew Hardman doing a beautiful job to hold on to the lead there.
He's been slowly working his way up through the field. I wouldn't have expected it there. Brown maybe thinking about a 2-for-1.
Wow, great heads up by Johnson, who sees him coming and gives him space, and great braking by Travis Brown. I didn't think there was any way that he managed to get side by side.
Nor did I, but he runs wide there, and that's going to open up the door back for Jeffrey Shulam.
Wheel to wheel, fighting for the 9th position, and it looks like Shulam might have it. Travis Brown cutting back underneath. He's going to fight back on Jeffrey, who's had his hands full for just about the last 5 laps in its entirety, and unfortunately, once again, he is snookered around the outside of Sayat. While Formula One had its ground effects revolution in the late 70s and early 80s, IndyCar soon followed with its own. But combine the dangers that come with that style of downforce with the outrageous speeds on ovals, you have a lethal recipe. Thankfully, that's not as much of a concern here in the sim world. So to recreate that bygone era, we've brought the Lotus 79 to the old Phoenix as we get ready to watch the majors Jimmy Bryan 200. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth tonight is Adam Lindgren and DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Phoenix has evolved greatly in the last 15 years or so. Let's head to our track guide to see what it once looked like.
Today, we're going back in time to Phoenix International Raceway as it stood in 2008. Before the big renovation in 2010, this front straightaway was even tighter than it is today. In 2008, it was a whole 10 feet narrower, so those track blocking incidents are even more of a possibility here. Turns 1 and 2 are an even 11 degrees from top to bottom. It still is tight though, but you don't have to worry about setting up for the dogleg on exit. Here, it's more of just a kink in the backstretch and nothing but grass and curves underneath. That, by the way, you don't want to hit. Going into 3 and 4, the track is back at its original 9 degrees. That wall on the The exit of 4, though, still comes up in a hurry, so some things just never change. Overall, though, Phoenix has less grip and the track surface is bumpy. That desert sun taking its toll on it. While Phoenix opened in the mid-60s, it was more of a sports car and open-wheel facility. This facility saw it all with IndyCar, from the USAC days to the IRL kart split to modern-day IndyCar. They tore around this oval at blistering speeds. The Copper World Classic, featuring USAC midgets and silver ground cars, was one of Phoenix's marquee events. Stock cars didn't even show up until the late 70s, with NASCAR's West Series making multiple stops and modifieds, having a few special events. Beginning in the 90s, the slide shifted NASCAR's ways. Nowadays, all of the NASCAR's major series come here. Today, we'll take that trip down memory lane and see who ends up in victory lane at the classic Phoenix International Raceway.
Well, Adam, I have to confess, even though the new Phoenix is pretty neat, I still kind of pine for this old one with that flat dog leg.
Absolutely, the flat dog leg for sure. But that being said, it does not have the paved runoff that we're used to in the modern day. See, Phoenix International Raceway, it's one of the most interesting ovals on any American calendar. And today we'll be visiting that old configuration that you talked about with the start-finish line on what is today the backstretch. This configuration features grass on that dog leg between 2 and 3, as well as a much rougher track surface. And tonight our majors drivers will be adding to all of that the Lotus 79. This car is a true handful at the best of times, and here at Phoenix, under the heat of the Arizonian sun, the older tires and more pliant suspension make this car a real challenge to hang on to through the corners. After about 15 to 20 laps, the best of the tire will be spent, and the 79 gets even more wily. That being said, they can carry the fuel through from the start of the race to the end, so tires will be the name of the game if they're going to take a pit stop. Cautions will likely be also the name of the game tonight, with 17 and 12 in the top split of the other regions. But regardless if these drivers can keep it clean or not, this will be a very fascinating race from start to finish, Joe.
Absolutely. They're doing their best to recreate the old Indy cars, but it's not going to be perfectly the same. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the championship order, starting with the pro drivers standings. Christian Challoner is still leading the way. It's by 46 points, but considering you can see it's 647 there for Christian. So 46 is a still pretty small margin. Nick Ottinger is trying to give chase with Ozzie Milwain not far back, and then a scant 4 points between Ozzie and Tom Abramitis after our first few rounds. And of course, DJ, you've got the Pro Teams Championship.
Joe, and as you can imagine, their mega racing team holding a sizable margin of 117 points over Evolve Sim Sports, and Evolve having a pretty sizable margin as well over Forge PC Racer Pro 1. Another bigger gap back to Dog Bear Red, but they are in a relatively close fight with Dog Bear Blue. So certainly there's some spreading out up at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. And the America's Legends Series also has its own points championship for these Legends drivers. 44 points ahead for Kevin Hill right now over Brian Barnes. That's because he's got that one top 5 versus Brian, who does not. Brian McGreevy, however, not too far back, only about 40 points back of Brian Barnes as well. And then look at that gap, 4 points between McGreevy and Partridge for that 4th position. That's quite a ways back, actually, to Wayne Hutchison. So look for 3rd and 4th to possibly change hands over the course of this week.
As for the sportsman standings, this is the amateur category effectively. Spencer Todd is up at the top of that. Then look how tight it is between 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. There's only about 20-some points from David Gagaro to Nathan Medina. Murphy Nichols and Andrew Mickey kind of stuck in the middle there, 3rd and 4th. And DJ, what about the sports teams?
Well, Joe, in those sports teams, which is that lesser category, it is a much tighter battle at the top with Evolve Sim Sports Academy holding the way with 665 points. Mad Sim Racing only 19 points back from them, and a mere 9 points back from them is Forge PC Racer Sport 1. A big jump back then to Vengeance Motorsports and Sector 5 Racing, about 80 points back from Vengeance in 4th.
Yeah, and then we get to the America Legends Sport, and this is actually the widest gap that we've seen in the points. This is Maurice Gomillion over Robert Deloche, 62 points right there. Largest gap so far, but then we've got 39 points between himself and Jason McSparron down in the third place for Howler Racing. Then Sector 5 Racing's Robert Gamble, only 4 points back. Yet another 4-point spread in the Legends Series, so great job there. 15 points back of that is Bryan Scrivener. So third to fifth, only separated by 19 points. That is a tight gap for those guys.
And for today's race details, it is a 200 lap race since it's a 1 mile circuit. So very simple math for us on that one. As we mentioned, it's the Lotus 79. This was originally a Formula One Grand Prix car, but it's kind of standing in for the old Indy cars from that early 80s era. And they have 5 total tire sets. Now that's going to be very interesting to watch. Because the drivers obviously will have to try and meter out when they take those tires and figure out when is the best time, especially at the end of the race. If we get some cautions, that could change everything. 26 incident limit, so you got to keep it together. Granted, open wheel cars, they can't really beat and bang and use up those incidents as much. But they do have a spare car waiting for them. So if they get some sort of damage, they can hop in there. Usually the call in this series is, since the races are so long, is to hold on to those spare cars until as far late into the race as you can get. Now that we have the opportunity, though, let's take a mention for our sponsor for the channel and for this series, the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code, Majors GSRC, you'll get 10% off. And one last thing before we head off to the racing itself, our charity for this race is the Tomorrow Fund. It's an independent, nonprofit charitable organization, provides daily financial and emotional support to children with cancer and their families treated at Hasbro's Children's Hospital in Providence, Rhode Island. The Tomorrow Fund strives to ensure access to the highest level of comprehensive care while raising public awareness of childhood cancer. To find out more, look for our link in the description below. And we do want to bring in a helper we have behind the scenes. Adam Face Facciaponte is joining us here today. Face, I know you were able to run over in the European race a little bit earlier. And I feel like strategy, especially with those cautions, since those are the big unpredictable factor, they cannot control when those are come. How is that going to affect the race today?
Well, like you said, it really does depend on when the cautions fall, and I think it depends a lot on your setup too. I personally chose to go with a little bit higher downforce setup, and so I felt comfortable just stopping once. Now, my race kind of got thrown upside down, and my strategy went out the window, but I feel like if you're on a lower downforce trimmed out package, you might be able to go ahead and stop twice, and you'll still be able to come through the field with that. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways you can play the strategy depending on what kind of risks you're comfortable taking, and of course, the untimely or the unpredictable nature of those cautions.
Absolutely, and we'll be checking in with Face throughout the race. He is certainly our eyes on the ground, having had that experience out in these cars earlier today. So he's got a much better sense of what the drivers are experiencing. But we've just about got 4.5 more minutes before we go to the green flag. Since they have finished qualifying earlier in the week, this will all be down to gridding up and then getting on their way for the 200 laps of today's race. As you'd expect, DJ, it is a little bit toasty in the desert, at least on the track surface itself. It's actually pretty good. I got to imagine the denizens of Phoenix would love a 72 degrees Fahrenheit day, but 103 on the track surface is probably not going to help those tires.
No, certainly not. It's going to definitely bring them back to earth a little bit. A couple after the laps that they're able to run, it is you're going to have to watch out for tire wear, specifically on the rear tires. They're going to take a real blister and beating as they work their way around here. So drivers are going to have to be careful for that. The one good news is that you're not going to really have to worry too much about warming up the tires before diving into turn one. You still need to be a little bit careful, but not as careful as you might need to be otherwise.
And care is probably another key word, I got to think, Adam, because from what I've seen, and I have called races with this combination before, it seems like things happen so quickly as we check with Justin Morton's onboard camera here, that trying to stay out of trouble probably going to be a big part of how your day goes in general, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. With the amount of cautions, over 10 cautions in both of the other regions pro splits that came before this one, it's definitely going to be a game of surviving to the end of the race. Now, there are a couple of things that I don't know if we've mentioned yet. There are going to be single file restarts with I believe it's single file restarts with none of the lap cars are going to be sent to the back of the grid or have a wave around or have lucky dogs. They're just stuck up in there with everyone else. So that's really going to affect things. It's affected things in the other regions as well. So that's definitely going to be a challenge. Correction, there are wave arounds, but the lap cars will not be sent to the back of the field. So they'll just be in amongst everybody as they are. So this definitely will be interesting when it comes to dealing with lap cars throughout.
Yeah, I'm really glad. That's one thing I do like about the Major Series is they try to implement the rules as accurately to the real world series as they are, or in some cases as they were. Now that vintage racing has started to become a presence in this series, started off a little bit with Lotus 49s and Lotus 79s, and then got to race some of the 87 Cup cars in last season. They're going to be back again this season with the World 600. That is going to be fascinating, no doubt. And here we're going to give a go at old school oval racing on the open wheel side as well. We're watching from Nick Ottinger, who is very experienced on the oval side of things, but with a black stripe in the NASCAR field, certainly is one who should probably fare well here regardless of that, because he seems to be skilled no matter what he does. And as we watch them carry on, we were talking a little bit about it, DJ, before we came live to the race. What do you think the side-by-side racing, because in the real world in more modern times on a newer layout for this track, it seems like IndyCar struggle to go side-by-side. Will the Lotus do the same?
I don't think it will, Joe. You're actually able to get a little bit side-by-side here coming through turns 1 and turns 3. You are able to do it. You can run a higher groove, as there you see it right into turn 1. You can run a high groove or a lower groove, taking that momentum or the shortest distance from point A to point B through there. You've just got to watch for the car to wash out a little bit. Where that side-by-side is going to fall away is actually coming through the dog leg. And it's not a matter of holding the car around there. It's just that the way the corner is set up, you lose a lot of time on that high side. Then again, coming through the third corner, you can really take a multitude of lines going down into there. It's going to be the hardest corner to go side by side through, but I think you can see side by side for pretty much this entire lap.
And we are just about ready to go here as the clock ticks down to 0 and warm-up is over. Hopefully everybody's got their practice done, has their setups all lined up and ready to go for 200 miles. And well, let's hope that we get as many finishers as we can as we now head to our starting grid for the day. Travis Warling has put it on the pole. Ethan Osowski will start from second position. Mark Stevenson starts from P3, followed by Justin Morton in the fourth spot. Brent Kirby will be P5. It's Brian Halleck to his outside, with Brian McGreevy in seventh, and Christian Challoner, interestingly, only eighth for him. He is usually very good on the ovals. Nick Ottinger starts from ninth, and DJ, it is going to be Justin Kirby in 10th.
It'll be Andrew Waring starting off in 11th, followed by Steve Driscoll, with Ray Partridge and Eric Smith behind them in row 7. 15th will be Jeff Schmeier and Nathan Dowd will be to his outside. Row 9 behind them is Nick Kuhn and Ozzie Milland, with Tom Abermitis and Kevin Hill rounding out your top 20, Adam.
Then we got Wayne Hutchison and William Fletcher rounding out row 11, with Lynn Kinchel lining up next to Rob Powers in 24th. Scott Corbin's lining up in 25th position with Liam Quinn in 26th. And row 14 goes to Daniel B. Johnson and Carter Kundinger. Brenton Foster and Jason Willett round out the top 30.
31st goes to Aaron Roofs, with Joey Haynes starting from 32nd, Brian Barnes 33rd, and Ryan Steele in 34th. We got a couple onboards here today, so let's take a look at those. Travis Warling going to be one of them, starting this race from the pole here. And then, of course, we've got Justin Morton, who often gives us his, and he'll be starting from 4th position as he's got his VR headset ready to go. And already on the backstretch, one pace lap around here for the start of this race. And hopefully we can get a clean start, get some laps down before we start really getting into this and don't have some early cautions today. As they now come into turn 3. This has been an interesting start to the season, a bit of new tracks that have been kicking things off compared to traditions for the majors. This is another one of those new ones as we wait patiently, and the green flag is out. It's a big jump for Travis Warling. He is going to get a very clear run down to the first corner, but the Force drivers, Zasowski, Morton, and Stevenson, are all going to slot into line 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. As they come out of turn 1, it looks like we're clean, DJ.
Clean and green, good bunch of side-by-side action going on, and that's going to continue on down into turn 3. Looks there a little bit like Stevenson tried to take a look on the outside, but here comes Morton on Osowski.
Yeah, good run from Morton Osowski right there, and it's pretty clustered up behind them. Oh, we've had a big wreck. Justin Kirby's under the wall.
And he takes a tumble right away. Thankfully, everybody's looking like their heads up. Oh, we got one that's hit him. Unfortunately, not able to avoid.
Daniel B. Johnson.
Daniel Johnson, yeah. And just as the car kind of tumbled across the track, it became difficult to predict where he was going to be. But what started this? DJ, did you get an eye on that?
I think I did. It's just a matter of slapping that outside wall if I saw it correctly. Oh, no, there was contact there. I'm not sure who that was with, but that's what forced him out into the outside wall.
It looked like Brian McGreevy to me that made that little bit of contact. Yep, that was. And, oh, man, a perfect illustration, Adam, of what I was talking about. That happened so fast. It's almost like there's no avoiding an incident once it starts to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian McGreevy just drifted up a little bit off of that bottom lane, and so that ended up getting into the left front of Justin Kirby and absolutely sent him flying into the wall. So just a little bit of tire-to-tire contact and nothing they could do there. Interestingly, Nick Ottinger is going into the pits. I don't believe that he's the one who got collected when Justin Kirby went spinning, but interesting to see Ottinger in the pits already, especially considering the fact that fuel shouldn't be a factor for these drivers unless they started with low fuel. And that's entirely a possibility that someone started this race still on qualifying fuel. Wouldn't make sense because we didn't do qualifying in this session.
Ooh, he does have some damage, so something did happen to him.
So maybe he was the one who got hit, because Daniel B. Johnson definitely landed on somebody at some point during that backstretch flip.
Yeah, I'm checking on my screen now to see. And no, I think it was Kirby, because he was behind Kirby when that happened. Oh, yeah. Kirby came back across and just made a little bit of ghost contact with him. I think Andrew Waring may have as well. So some interesting stuff there. As for the early stops, from what I understand, and actually maybe Face could weigh in on this, a lot of the drivers have been saying that it might be better to start on half fuel, almost go the 1982, I think it was Brabham that started doing this, the first ones to try and implement fuel strategy into F1 racing. Face, did we see that in the European split where a lot of drivers would only put in half the fuel and then try and split it part way?
I really think that's what most people did. In my experience, when you fully fueled the car, it was just way too slow. And the more the fuel burns off, the more oversteer you get. So if you put all the fuel in it, it was just way too tight, way too heavy, you couldn't really keep up. And so I didn't want to go that route. I went with half fuel to start. With yellows, you can go over 100 laps on half the fuel. So, then it was just a matter of trying to time, when a yellow came out later, getting in there and getting the rest of your fuel, getting your tires when you wanted to.
Well, looks like the pace car's already coming in as Travis Warland leads the single file restart, and the green flag is out. Osowski already under attack from Stevenson, who's going to dive to the inside of his teammate, and he'll take that second place away. Behind them, not many drivers going side by side through that first corner. Looks like it's relatively calm until you get to the back, but look at this coming down and around the outside. This is one of the mega drivers, and of course, it's Christian Challenger, who goes clear around the long way of Bryan Halleck.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about, Joe. There's a multitude of lines you can take there through turn 3, just carrying more momentum around the high side there. The problem is there's not a lot of banking to do it, so you have to be very, very sure-footed and sure-handed in the car to get it to work.
He's already on the attack, too. This is Kirby, Brent Kirby, who we're watching, and he's going to duck low underneath Justin Morton. Thought maybe it was going to be Challenger trying to go by the 57, but no. Justin Morton now sees that blue and white car all over him, and he gets the inside down into turn 3. Challenger up to 5th.
Yeah, the bottom line in turn 1 looks like a lot of drivers are tight right now. Looking at that bottom line in turn 1, that is Brian McGreevy getting past Bryan Halleck as well. Trying to do that around the outside, can't quite get it done. So that bottom line working out that time around, but I've seen quite a few drivers drifting up and almost causing incidents like we saw in our first caution tonight.
McGreevy gonna get a better exit behind him. I think that was a spot for Eric Smith underneath Andrew Waring. So nicely done on that one. And we watch from on board the Forge Racer for a brief moment before behind them. Now we can see that's Andrew Waring around the outside of Jeff Schmeier. Schmeier on the attack and try and take another spot. Also, we've got some side-by-side a little bit up the road between Kirby and Osowski. So Ethan in the 033 is slipping backwards a little bit. There you can see the bright green and black 57 is onto the podium, DJ.
Yes, he is. So that 57 machine showing some good speed here early. And like we said, not nearly as much of a worry about the tires. These are durable tires. So you've just got to make sure that they keep in their operating window, and you should be able to keep them out for as long. As we jump back up here to Warling, Stevenson's starting to look like he's putting a little bit of pressure to him.
Ooh, and you can see in the background, going down low, Christian Challenger, seeing if he could take 4th place away from Osowski. This is a rivalry that I'm interested in seeing over the course of the season. The Mega team and the Forge team facing off against each other. Two extremely talented oval teams here in the Major Series. And so far, that's going to go into the hands of the Mega team, at least for 4th place. Christian Challenger has that one done.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a nice pack going on in 13th, from 13th on back as well. This would be Rob Powers, Ray Partridge, Tom Abramitis, one of Christian's teammates, as well as Ozzie Milway, Lynch Kinchlow, and Nathan Dowd, as they're all tucking in with each other to try and duke it out. We're taking a look on board right now with Eric Smith as he's following Bryan Halleck and Justin Morton, who we were just watching.
Smith drifting up just a little bit high, but keeps it out of the wall as he chases on Halleck. And he's going to be able to get down to the inside, a deep dive into there. We heard Adam talking about how they are seeming a little tight on the bottom side. Can't get it done completely. Better launch for Halleck. Coming down into turn 1, though. Inside line, definitely the place to be. Smith is by. Big lift in front of him, DJ. Looked like Morton maybe drifted.
Yeah, I think he drifted up the track a little bit there, and that's a big concern. That's going to open up the door down to the inside, and there he goes.
Morton's going to try and fight back, and wow, big weave from Eric Smith there. Just afraid of seeing the two of them make contact there out of turn 4. It certainly is a corner that's known to bite many drivers who go a little bit too high off of there. Halleck, who we ride on board with, might lose another spot. Adam, looks like Jeff Schmeier now approaching.
Absolutely. Schmeier looking down low side. Halleck stuck up high. He's got a good run off of the final corner, but if Schmeier sends it deep into turn one, he might be able to do a little bit of a slide job here. He's going to be a little bit more cautious, though. Still hanging on to that bottom side, though. Bottom side right now looking like it's going to be the place to be. Still a lot of good racing going on throughout the field.
Oh, and we got a caution.
Aaron Roofs is in the wall, as well as Justin Kirby again.
Oh, wow. And he's already used his spare car, I'm pretty certain. So, Roofs, man, this is just wrong time, wrong place for Justin Kirby. And it's in the exact same spot, just about, where he wrecked the first time. I wonder if Justin's going to have to call it a day here, because it looks like the car is badly crabbing as he pulls away. We're going to give another angle on it here.
He did take a tow, guys, so I think Justin Kirby's day might be done.
That is frustrating. We're only 18 laps into this thing, so we're not that far in. And yep, you can see just how badly it was trying to pull away from the scene of the accident. I don't think it's going to be able to be repaired from there. Oh, okay, we slow down for the second time. Do we see anybody maybe try and gamble from the back and take an early stop with a fresh set of tires? This is our second yellow of the evening, DJ. And so far, Nick Ottinger has been in. We saw him try to get a bit of repairs. Looks like he's back out in 26. Johnson getting some contact, so he's been in. So now Roofs and Kirby. Nobody I've seen that are making any strategy calls.
No, nobody quite yet. It definitely seems like here that everybody just trying to stick it through. I would imagine we'd start seeing people maybe at quarter race distance at 50. That's when strategy would start popping in, but not necessarily this early on, Joe.
And while we've got the opportunity to, since we have someone who's got on the ground experience face, I'm curious, what would be your keys to victory in today's race? What do you feel like are the major factors that'll get someone a winning strategy and pace?
Well, a couple things we already mentioned. One was, timing the cautions, trying to time your strategy when you're going to pit. Yeah, I agree with Adam. If you get at least 50 laps in, if you're going to try a two-stop strategy, I'd probably want to go closer to like lap 75 or 80 before the first stop. But again, it just depends on how many yellows you get. And then, of course, staying out of trouble. I mean, the Euro Pro race, there were a number of guys who had fast cars, were able to run up front, and unfortunately weren't able to get to the finish. And then you had some guys who, weren't necessarily slow, but weren't, podium cars, and wound up towards the front at the end. So this race, these cars get pretty squirrely. So staying out of trouble is going to be another one of your keys.
Yeah, it's very interesting to watch these cars race on ovals. And DJ, I know you race in a series, or have raced in a series that takes these cars to almost all ovals. So it's got to be an interesting feeling taking a car that was literally meant for the road side of things and then trying to adapt it here to just left turns.
Yeah, it is very, very difficult. I will say these cars are an absolute blast to drive on ovals. The reduced aero wash coming off the back of them because of the ground effects in the car means you can follow a little bit closer. It allows for some close battles. But as Face pointed out, when they get light on fuel and these tires get worn, they get really, really twitchy. So do not be surprised when these cars get looser and lighter later on into the stint. That's where we're going to see some electric action.
So far, we've had at least one decently long run now under green. That first one only a lap and maybe a quarter, I'd say, before we got that first yellow. But now we've seen some motion put on these tires. So who will get the good start, having worn them out a little bit as they all line up on the high side now, not wanting to open up that outside line. You cannot pass below the car in front of you before the start-finish line. This is why they're all covering off that high side. And as the green flag comes out, Travis Warling, not as big of a jump from what we saw before. Mark Stevenson, and he is going to try and chase. Christian Challenger, who was fast on the last stint here, Adam, is already looking like he wants to overtake Kirby.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to make a move around Kirby. There goes. That is Tom Abramitis, I believe we're watching, going around the outside. And Noah's both Christian and Tom trying to make some moves right there. Christian making his move around the outside. Tom Abramitis also doing the same thing. Identical cars fighting identical looking cars there.
Yeah, the team factor very big here on the oval side in the majors, although not in the same way we saw when we had the Daytona 500 earlier this season. Coming off of turn 4, got a little bit of a fight between Schmeier and Morton. Looks like Schmeier is able to come out on top, as now we turn our attention to Tom Abramitis, teammate to Challenger, who's all the way up to second already. Challenger just overtook Warling, or Stevenson is looking at Warling.
Yeah, Joe, and what happened there was Stevenson got a little bit squirrely coming off of turn 1. Challenger recognized it. Now we're going to see him dive down to the inside here on Mark Stevenson, trying to see if he can get that. Stevenson not going to fight him too hard. Challenger's going to slide up, clears the wall, and he's up into pole.
So for the first time, we have a new leader in this race. Challenger has said before he tends to prefer to lead. He likes to be up at the front, but he's going to be fought back by Travis Warling, who gets down to the inside through 3 and 4. Is he going to finish the job in 1 and 2? He's going to try it. Challenger hangs tough, though. Still has some overlap, DJ.
Yes, he does. I like this fight here from Warling, and the one guy who's really going to be loving this is Mark Stevenson. The two of them duking it out here like this. This is going to wear down the tires a little bit, wear them down mentally, and it certainly could open up the door for Stevenson later on in this run.
There's a little bit of a peak from Stevenson. We've talked about 2 wide. I don't think we've even mentioned 3 wide yet, and I don't know how wise that is. We watch from the Forge Racer looking up ahead. Warling down on the bottom side as he tries to see if he can keep that UDOX car ahead of the Mega Team Racing number 1.
Yeah, 3 wide's possible. It's just not fast. And so these guys are going to try and avoid doing that for the sake of their speed. But this is all bringing in Brent Kirby as well, who's tucking in behind Mark Stevenson at the moment, as these two leaders have been side by side for nearly 3 laps at this point. And look at this. That's a nice move from Warling. Has he cleared Christian on the exit? He has, just barely, but he's not thinking about crossing in front of Christian's wing as Mark Stevenson falls to lie behind Christian, pushing him a little bit forward as they enter 1 and 2 again.
This might bring Kirby into it, too. That we might have a 4-car fight for the lead here. And a reminder, we're on lap 30 coming up out of 200. We're not even close to making a dent into this race. So let's see how long this stays green. If they get feisty out there, continuing to race side by side. This has now been a couple laps, DJ. Does this wear down the tires quicker?
It wears them down quicker, but remember that they are designed to last for full race distances, so they're not really going to be feeling massive amounts of tire wear until about lap 75 or so. Now, granted, the way they're running, look for them to start having that tire wear come in around lap 60 or so around on this track. You will definitely start to feel it.
So way around the high side there, looks like Christian Challenger is not afraid to let it drift up. And it keeps the speed on top of it and trying to follow him. It looks like Brent Kirby experimenting a bit with that. Enters the corner a little bit high, ducks back down off of it. Behind them, Stevenson trying to figure out which lane is the better one. He's going to go for low down through 1 and 2. Drifts back up to the high side all the way out to the exit. Is Challenger able to chop down? No. Looks like Warren's going to carry this on as we got a caution with
Rob
Powers
and Bryan Halleck.
So
yeah, this is a wreck between Rob Powers and Bryan Halleck. This was Halleck just drifting up off of the exit of 2 and collecting Rob Powers. So we're going to take a look at this replay.
This is a great escape from Lynn Kinchlow, too, if we want a good onboard.
Oh, quite a few people had some decent escapes there.
So, yeah, drivers once again diving on either side, much like we saw with the first caution with Brent Kirby. There you can see him just kind of going up to the outside. That purple car that just escapes through the smoke is Lynn Kinchlow. In the number 44 machine, we're going to see from his perspective. Now the UDOX driver. Boy, he's kind of lucky, honestly, that he kind of picked the high side. Does drift down low a little bit. Woo!
Yeah, just happy they cleared low because that could have cleared high and gotten into him. So also getting into the wall usually slows the cars down a lot. So Lynn was very fortunate there.
we come back live. So Challenger was just ahead as that yellow flew, so he'll restart on the pole. For the first time, somebody other than Warling will restart us. And we have now hit 34 laps into this race. And Face, I know you were talking a little bit about how the cars seem to have a bit of an ebb and a flow as the stints go on. We haven't seen any pit stops yet. What are they experiencing out there, and what are the setups, the decisions on setups doing as they start to really feel that fuel burn off?
Well, Adam was right. The tires aren't too much of a concern. I think it's more just the way the car gains nose weight as you burn off fuel, and they start to just gain oversteer the longer you run. So, guys who started out with looser setups, now they're starting to get a little nervous. It's just going to get looser and looser as you keep going. Guys who started out with a little bit more snug setups, their setups might start coming in here. That's what happened for me in the Euro race. So you might see some different cars start to struggle that were fast early, and then some guys who were struggling early get a little bit better as they're able to hold on to their cars better as the run goes on here. I think we're still a ways away from pit stops.
Yeah, it's not even up to the quarter race mark here for this one. So going to be Challenger, Warling, Stevenson, Brent Kirby, and Ethan Sowski. That was Justin Kirby, by the way, I should have said earlier, that was involved in the first yellow of the day. And we still have the lights on, so we need to go around at least one more time. Let's give an update on Nick Ottinger. Remember, he was dealing with that damage that he had to get repaired. He's still got some on his rear wing, but he's in 20th now. So he's gotten part way up through the field, not quite to halfway. He's about 11 positions down from where he began. But it looks like, DJ, he's at least able to make some progress.
Yeah, indeed. And the rear wing damage for him here, that's really going to hurt him on top line speed. And lucky for him, Phoenix is a relatively shorter track, so he's not going to be getting up to top line speed. His front wing is still intact. The ground effect on that car is still intact, so he'll be able to get a good point with it. He just has to be a little bit more sensitive with the rear throttle coming onto the corners to make sure that that reduced downforce doesn't increase tire spin.
Let's check out this restart from on board with Travis Warland. Let's see what it's like for someone with VR here in these old school cars. Nice thing is they have very good sight lines compared to modern open wheelers. Yeah, there you can see from his helmet cam as well just how much that he's able to see around him. Still can't quite see the nose of the car, but can certainly see side to side much better when they weren't as worried about the helmet getting hit. Meanwhile, green flag is out. Wow, big checkup for everybody behind him. And look at the launch that Challenger gets out of that. Warling falls a few car lengths behind, but he also drops Stevenson behind him there, DJ.
Yeah, definitely drops him behind, so trying to break this out into a two-car race right now, but Stevenson's still within, crucially, about 0.5 of a second. That'll be good enough for the draft. Couple of drivers getting aggressive, going down into 3, making it 2 wide.
That's Justin Morton and Brenton Foster who are side by side right now. Brenton Foster on the low side, Justin Morton on the high side, and it looks like Justin has cleared Brenton, but going into 1 and 2, Justin still not quite clear. It's going to slow up both of them. Andrew Waring thinking about going to the outside of Foster now.
And ahead of them, they've got Lynn Kinchlow there. Now, Lynn is actually one of our hard chargers, up 13 positions. He's tied for that right now. No, excuse me, Brenton Foster's up 16. I didn't see that before. Wow. So maybe Brenton Foster's the one he needs to worry about, as we're seeing plenty of side-by-side racing on this restart, DJ.
Yeah, drivers getting very, very feisty here as we continue to go along. I think they know that they want to get moving, and these cars feel good enough under them that they can try to go for the move. Here comes one around the outside.
So we ride on board with Challenger, looking back at Warling. Still sitting in a single file. Stevenson going a little high on the exit of 1 and 2. And Kirby starting to approach, but they are dropping 5th on back. It is basically everybody else to squabble for the lesser positions, as you can still see the likes of Andrew Warren and Liam Quinn fighting side by side, and a little bit in front of them as well. That was Eric Smith fighting with Lynn Kinchlow. We hop on board with Warren here, sitting in 14th.
And one driver that's going to want to get a move on is Tom Abramidis. We know he's got a little bit more pace than this group that he's a part of right now, and they're falling off to the tune of about a quarter of a second per lap to the lead pack of 4 drivers. So Tom Abramidis there in the 7th position, tucked in behind this battle between Ethan Ozowski and Brian McGreevy. He's going to want to get going. He looks to the inside of Ozowski.
Great run off of 2. Ozowski really has no answer on that one. He is able to get back in line before Kinchlow can manage to overtake him. Kinchlow now up 15, but Foster up 18 in this group, gobbling up positions left and right.
Yeah, he is on a charge here, and this just could be the part of the stint where those mega cars start to feel really, really good. Face talked a little bit about how the different phases of the race can suit different setups.
So we come back to Brent Curry in 4th position. Top 4 have been a little bit more calm from what I've seen. Every time I poke my nose over here, Adam, I wonder if they're just trying to log laps at this stage.
Well, absolutely. If you can save a little bit of fuel, if you've done that half fuel strategy and you can save a little bit, tucked in behind Christian Challenger, who you know is fast and pulling you away from everyone behind, I mean, why not? You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Race is 200 laps long. We're not even a quarter of the way through at this point.
About 2.2 seconds ahead of everybody behind. But look at the high line from Stevenson. Actually works for him fairly well. He gets a good shot off of there to close up on Travis. Once they come down into turn 3, though, he ran out of straightaway. See if he can do the same coming off of turn 4. No, not very close, but Warling gives a lift. He was close behind the number 1, but the 90 decided to just let that one go. And behind them, there's still been plenty of action. McGreevy, Abramidis. In fact, I think Abramidis might take that 20 up into 5th place. Oh, big accident on his lid. And now doing barrel rolls, Bryan McGreevy. Oh, no, and more cars coming up on him. Thankfully, everybody gets to either side.
And he towed as soon as he could. Was this contact with Abramidis?
It was, Adam.
Oh, yeah, side-by-side contact into the wall. That was hard.
And it was a bit of ghost contact between them. Not sure if they actually would have touched. It would have been very, very tight. But the degree to which the violence with McGreevy shooting into the outside, I think maybe that was an overestimation potentially.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
By iRacing.
It was incredibly close, but wheel-to-wheel contact like that can definitely send you up the track. Nevertheless, a rough day out there.
In Face, I've been noticing you looking at the replay. What have you got for us on this one?
Well, that the inside car there, I believe that was Abramidis. You see, he didn't quite go for the line probably as early as McGreevy was expecting. Just a little bit of miscommunication there. You know, you have to kind of synchronize turn in, as we all know, and it's so easy to just think it just happens automatically every lap, but you really it's easy to get it wrong. And especially the cars that are starting to get pretty squirrely right now, they don't want to turn all the way to the bottom, even when they're the inside car. So it's just a little miscommunication there. It's a shame for McGreevy and anybody else who got caught up behind that.
Well, let's hope that the 44 is not on a train bound for nowhere, because he appears to be a bit of a gambler. He has come in, and Kinchlow has taken tires, DJ.
All right, so we have the first driver to do that, and I said we may start to see it around the quarter mark here of the race, and indeed, that's what it's going to be. That's going to put them down in the field, and I think the big concern for that, at least if in my perspective, is seeing these incidents break off in front of you. It's if you're farther up in the field, you're not going to have to avoid them. You're that far down.
He's in again. Did he speed
it off?
Lane? No black flag.
He's probably just topping off, to be honest. Aaron Roofs does have a black flag, so that's interesting to note. Aaron currently running in the 30th position, so he's got a black flag that he has yet to serve.
There's no drive-through penalty, so I'm curious how Roofs got a black flag. I wonder if this is a phantom black flag, potentially.
And Kinch just got more tires. So I'm confused now.
Yeah, that had to have been a mistake from Lynn. So not sure that was what he meant to do on that one. They do have 5 sets, and if you are making one stop, I mean, it's not going to be a huge waste. Hopefully, not going to be a huge waste, but
He's just scuffing one of the sets. That's it.
I wish we could do that in iRacing. That would be very cool.
I think we'll get there at some point.
Yeah, hopefully. Could be a factor as the sim continues to progress. And looks like lights are now out on the pace car. So we're going to be restarting past quarter distance now, DJ. On lap 51, we'll restart.
We are indeed, and I think for these top four, Challoner, Warling, Stevenson, and Kirby, they're going to be hoping to build that gap back up that they had. But the big problem is they've got another mega team member, Tom Abramitis, right there behind them.
Yeah, and the more of those guys that start to congregate, that's bad news for everybody else. Brenton Foster on that team as well. He's back in 8th, not too far away. 3 of them up at the front. And before, it was the Forge team that was there. Stevenson in there, Osowski, and where is, looks like, yeah, Morton's fallen back to 11th. So they're kind of fading while Mega is coming to the fore. As the green flag is out, and Challoner gets a pretty decent jump this time. Stevenson trying to challenge on the UDOX car of Warling as they come down into the first corner, but it looks like Kirby, Adam, is not as close as he was on that last stint. Let's hope he can reel them back in.
Yeah, Kirby was a little bit slow off the punch, so that actually bunched up everyone behind. So now we have battles between Tom Abramitis and Eric Smith. Tom trying to hang on to that 5th position over Aaron, and Brenton Foster just getting past Ethan Zowski. Now we've got Eric Smith and Brenton Foster still duking it out. Ethan Zowski, Liam Quinn, Jeff Schmeier, tons of people side by side on this restart.
And looks like Brenton Foster will win out against Osowski. Yeah, Eric Smith hailing from the Dog Bear team. Now that's another oval team, and fittingly enough, a bit of an underdog team at times, but they show well on these ovals, and he's representing there in the 6th position as a drift up high for Stevenson. It definitely, DJ, looks like Stevenson likes exiting on that high line, which always frankly scares me. Keep thinking he's going to pound it into the wall.
It scares me too, Joe, but if you're able to run that fine line, you can find a lot of speed out of there because you're just naturally letting the car drift up the track and you're not scrubbing speed. So that is...
Liam Quinn's around. Liam Quinn and
Osowski.
Ethan Osowski, yeah. Quinn got loose entering 1.
Ooh, I don't know if he got loose. I think, no, it looks like Osowski got loose. Ooh, this is going to be on the 033. And he gets, I think, some of the worst damage of it, as now we're starting to get a lot more cautions here at this stage. Our patience starting to wear thin in these early stages. Yeah, you can see the rear just start to come around. I don't know if there was ghost contact in that. Let's take one more look at it.
Ooh, a little bit, I think.
It's a bit of a shame if that's the case. Someone might want to tell these drivers you got to give a little bit of leeway here. Yeah, we can see it there. I'm watching it on mine real closely. If it did, it was incredibly minor. And it just kind of sent him on a trajectory. Car started to snap, and he couldn't do much to save it, it seems. Abramitis is now in. Ooh, okay.
This is a little spicy from him. So Abramitis and Andrew Waring are in the pits, so that's interesting. Abramitis fuel and tires, so I think everyone's just going to get tires if they come in for fuel because it's so cheap.
Yeah, Ottinger is pitting.
So
anybody else?
I don't know if this is a 2-stop strategy or a 3-stop strategy for these drivers, but this puts Abramitis back in nearly 30th position. So this is going to be dangerous stuff for Abramitis to try and cut through the field again, to be honest.
Face, we understand that your race was also compromised by some net code. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I don't know a lot about the technical side of it, but it seems that these cars, for whatever reason, seem more sensitive to it than other cars I've raced. I'm not sure if that could have something to do with the fact that it's actually a road car. Someone who knows more about the technical workings of iRacing may know, but it may just be because they're an open wheel car. I'm not sure, but it just seemed like we see a lot more netcode incidents in these cars than with most of the cars that we race. And it's something we all tried to be aware of in our race, but you know, sometimes you're racing, you get a little close, and you're just hoping the internet cooperates, and sometimes it doesn't.
Didn't this time. Didn't a couple times already in this race. So far, I'm looking to see if we have any official DNFs. Now, Justin Kirby's been in pit lane taking repairs for about 24 minutes. I would have thought he's going to be our first DNF, but you never know. Maybe he could try and get that back out there and see whatever he could do to finish. But you are allowed to do so as long as you are not a danger to the other drivers and try and gather up points. And based on the attrition that we are seeing with drivers getting damage at them, I mean, it's probably worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, it's definitely worth it, but any sort of risk is going to put you at the back of the field. I mean, I don't know. With the amount of cautions that we've been seeing, I would want to stay up there at the front. So I mean, Tom and Christian are on the same team. I'm more a fan of Christian's strategy at the moment because it keeps him out of trouble.
Exactly, and looks like lights are off, and we're going to get restarted one more time. This time on lap 59 for our drivers. Christian Challoner came into this race leading the points, and we'll see if he extends that gap by the time we leave, because the signs at this stage in the race certainly are pointing towards that. And Andrew Waring is the main one that's wanting to try and challenge him. But Waring is sitting back in 10th, so he hasn't really been much of a factor up to this stage. That could change by the final laps if he's just holding on to his equipment. Green flag is out. Christian Challoner is now on his way. 0.3 of a second between them as they fly down into the first corner, DJ.
Flying down to the first corner, Challoner starting to build up a little bit of a gap, and look at that breakaway from Warling and Stevenson. 0.6 of a second back to Brent Kirby. Very, very good moves there.
Coming down into the front stretch once again as we watch the battle between Smith and Kirby. He's right on that gearbox. Brenton Foster has a good view on it from behind the pair of them, as well as right on the Dog Bear driver. He's gaining in that slipstream, and he's going to take a look to the inside. And as soon as he's got that nose in, that almost seems like that's typically a sign that an overtake is going to be made. Oh, did we just see him hit the wall? Kirby almost looked like he glanced off of it there.
Yeah, not quite hitting the wall, but very close. He got on when it goes to flat there's a little bit of a bump right on the edge of the wall there, and so he bumped that but didn't actually hit the wall. But Eric Smith has gotten past Brent Kirby, and Kirby's tight. I can tell he's tight because he's really having a hard time sticking it through the corner and maintaining the speed. But this time Brent Foster's going to take a look to the bottom side, and Kirby sends it deep into 1 and 2. Can't quite hang on to the speed on that high side though.
Foster just about making it 2 mega cars inside the top 5, and is the job done here? Kirby washing out. Yep, that is Brenton Foster finally up into the 5th position. Not much spread out in these early stages, although from 4th to 5th, it looks like there's something of a gap. We hop on board with Stevenson sitting in the 3rd spot.
Yeah, and he is just sitting back and waiting. We're seeing a lot more control out of these top 3 drivers. I don't think they really want to be duking it out. They recognize what they can do if they just let this race run. The gap already 2 seconds, basically, between Stevenson and Foster. They don't want to fight. They want to build as much of a gap as they can.
Ooh, we got a lot of battling behind them. You can see right here. And that is Eric Smith trying to battle with Foster some more down on the low side. Jeff Schmeier now poking his nose. Carter Kundinger and Justin Morton have also been side by side. And wow, they are 2 wide, 3 deep here on lap 65. And this is all a fight for 5th.
And this is the battle for the lead. Warling underneath Challoner and Mark Stevenson as well. So Warling doesn't want to let this go. 3 wide. Here we go. We were wondering if it was going to happen. Here they go into 1.
And Challoner's going to win out. It looks to me like Warling was the one that backed out of that. And Stevenson will pick up a spot. So it becomes a game of chicken, it appears, when that happens, as we hop on board with Travis Warling. And he gets underneath Stevenson. He'll get that spot back, maybe. Ooh, that car was awful loose coming off the turn.
Looked a little bit squirrely there. And remember, these guys have not come in for new tires or new fuel, so they are running on light loads here. Very, very good stuff. But it looks like here that Stevenson tried to have a little bit of an attack around the outside. Warling, wise to it, just shut the door.
Whew. This has been frantic since this last restart. This is the most action we've seen from the leader since very early in the race, but the battle for fourth now. Eric Smith being caught by Brenton Foster. Whoa, and he's going to have to get out of it. Momentum interrupted for the 32. The Dog Bear driver finally gathers it up to his outside, trying to poke his nose. Looks like Carter Kundinger, who unfortunately loses a bit of speed way out in the marbles, but he gathers it back coming off of turn 4. And now we get another caution. Wallets is parked on the front stretch with Daniel Johnson. Johnson with his second incident of the night.
Yeah, this was contact with Daniel Johnson coming off of the corner, and they've also collected Joey Haynes, who's got major front end damage to that machine as well.
Yeah, there are some drivers who had close calls.
Mark Stevenson's around.
Oh, how did that happen? So a few drivers.
I'm very confused. Oh, he had to park. They had to park. He didn't go around. He had to park the car to make sure he didn't get into contact.
So he was coming up upon this incident, which hadn't quite cleared yet. Yeah, there you can see them. Ooh.
He says, you know what? I think I'll just stop.
Yeah, he'll be given his spot back. And honestly, I'm glad to see a few drivers coming to a halt there to give him a chance to try and get going.
Oh, and it's pit stop time, guys. We're all in at this point. Christian Challenger, Mark Stevenson, so many drivers are in. Carter Kundinger stays out, but this is a large swath of drivers that are coming into the pits.
Looks like, I think, Ray Partridge. Yeah, Ray Partridge also gonna stay out.
Andrew Waring, yeah. So lots of drivers staying out here, but Christian Challenger in the box. Stevenson did get up to second on right beneath Challenger before they came in. So fuel on tires for this whole group.
So Kinchlow, having already been in, is able to stay out. So is Halleck and Johnson. And Travis Warling's going to be the first to leave the lane. And with Jeff Schmeier, now that's interesting. How did Jeff Schmeier get that many positions?
Well, Jeff Schmeier had a 9.1 second stop compared to Mark Stevenson's 11.5.
He took tires, guys, so I'm not sure what the reasoning there is. He may have only taken 2. That could be it. It looked like he was up on the jacks for a very short amount of time.
And unfortunately, we won't know which ones. I would guess that it's just rights in this case that would be the ones that make sense.
Long stops for Rob Powers and Christian Challenger. Rob Powers at 14.4, Christian Challenger at 13.6. So the 14.4 from Powers is our slowest stop on this cycle through, and Christian Challenger tied for third slowest himself, tied with William Fletcher. So taking a little bit extra fuel as Christian, maybe he's trying to go to the end from here.
That's a possibility. They can fill higher than what they did on the first one, of course. So since the cars can make it the entire distance, that strategically does leave that open. Looks like the lights are still on, so we got one more to go. But this now makes Carter Kundinger your new leader. Waring will restart in second and Morton in third. Remember, Waring is the one that is fighting with Challenger in the points right now. He's in second place. Abramitis is down in 5th in points, and at times he was up at the front, but ran into some trouble. Where is he now, actually? Trying to find Tom. Looks like, oh, he's down in 27th, so he also must have stopped. Yes, he did.
Yeah, so Tom Abramitis, yeah, did stop as well. So, yeah, this makes it so, I mean, that strategy call of coming in last caution, I'm not sure it's working out for him, but lights are off on the pace car. We're getting ready to go racing with a new leader, Carter Kundinger, going to be leading them to the line.
And it's going to be a restart on lap 74. So once again, they will go single file.
And Lynn Kinchlow in 11th is the first driver to have taken a pit stop this race who's starting out behind them. But he's got quite a bit on his tires right now, 24 laps. First driver who has not who just pitted recently, Travis Warling in 13th.
Let's see what the restarts are going to look like here as the pace car's down low and now in. Kundinger on the loud pedal, and the green flag is out. Pretty decent start over Andrew Warren, Justin Morton, and Ozzie Milwane as they fly down into turn 1. And looks pretty calm to me through most of the field. Everybody just trying to get up to speed here as they hit turns 3 and 4 now. Kundinger riding way, way up high as we jump farther back in the field to Christian Challoner.
Yeah, and Challoner there trying to make up some positions. It looked like Kinchlow up ahead of him, and Warling lost a little bit of time as they started off, but they'll be able to come back alive. Remember, these tires will take a couple of laps for them to really work their way back in.
Yeah, they were very tight going into 1, Joe, so these drivers waiting for those tires to come into fruition, but they will. Look at this battle, though, for the lead. Carter Kundinger on Andrew Warring. Very tight for those two drivers going into 1. Carter with the advantage right now.
Yeah, and Warren was the one that was leading, but now has been overtaken. As, or no, it was attempted to be overtaken. Looks like Kundinger around the high side. As Stevenson, or Morton rather, those Forge cars all look pretty much exactly the same. Oh! And unfortunately, Morton, as he tries
in the middle of the track
to get it stopped, definitely not happy. You could see him expressing frustration there with his onboard camera. And Kundinger at the time was clear when he started to make that move, but Morton was already on a trajectory, and when Kundinger moved low, that's when it just slapped him off to the inside barrier.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a closing gap that Kundinger took, so we're going to take a look on it from onboard Scott Corbin, and you're just going to see smoke start to appear in front of him, and look at that. Very stressful for Corbin as he goes by.
Yeah, thankfully the car had not bounced all the way back to the outside lane by that stage. We've been seeing, I'd say, more yellows in the last 30 to 40 laps than we did in the first 40 of this race. Another view from Dowd, just showing how hard it is to see what's coming and where to place your car. And Kundinger's going to come into pit lane because he got some damage from that touch. So his rear wing's kind of bent up. But I don't see, nobody else who stayed out on that last yellow have come in.
And the worst news for Justin Morton, he forgot to take his fast repair. So he goes a lap down.
And there's nothing you can do to change that once it's started. Once they start repairing the car, you're basically just stuck having to wait for them to finish their work.
Not a happy camper, Justin, right now, and I completely understand. I mean, Justin Morton, remember last season, guys, he was the one challenging Christian Challoner. We didn't talk about him much early in the season, but he was consistent, always up there, top 10s, top 5s, and this season just has not played out for him.
No, which is a bit of a shame because he is absolutely one of the most versatile drivers we've come across here on GSRC. Look for him when we head off to dirt racing, especially dirt oval racing. And Justin is really going to be able to shine on that one. But, man, stick him in just about anything, and he seems to be able to be quick from almost the word go. As we continue to wait for the lights to go back out on the pace car. As for the drivers who have recently pitted, Face, I feel like you've been kind of watching them. What have you got written down about them?
Well, they're really tight, as you guys already noted. You come in, you just get all that extra weight with the fuel, and they're going to be slow for a while. What happened in the Euro race was the guys who pitted first, they could not keep up with the guys who hadn't pitted yet, because the guys who hadn't pitted yet, they're just so much lighter on fuel. So they actually would pull away. But then that's going to reverse when the guys who are still up front right now, when they eventually take their first stop. what might be their only stop, then they'll be kind of on the back foot, so that's going to switch around here as the race goes on.
So we watch them come back around. Going to be lap 81 here, so I think we're restarting on lap 82. Looks like, I think we've had our first official DNF for the day. Yeah, Daniel Johnson does not look to be in the server anymore. So Daniel B. Johnson is officially out. Justin Kirby might be done. He's on 40 minutes worth of repairs now. So if he gets out there, you got to wonder how fast the car would even be, unfortunately. And there we see the drivers on the back stretch waiting for Waring to now give the go. And now it's Ozzie Milwayne who's in a good position. Came into this race 4th in points, DJ.
Yeah, indeed. Ozzie's going to look to capitalize here and just try to pull out as much of a gap as he can as we get ready to go green.
So as they come out of turn 4, good start.
Oh, he hit the wall.
Ooh, I didn't quite catch that. Did he just spin the tires up, or what did he do?
Yeah, it looks like he spun the tires up, and he didn't hit the wall, but it was really, really, really close. Andrew got away with that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd say he did because he's already pulling away. So it didn't slow him down at all. Behind them, Ray Partridge having gained a lot. He still needs to stop most likely before this race is over. Unless some of these drivers are trying to go to the finish. There you see his view as the number 8 starts to catch up to Ozzie Milwayne. Milwayne's going to cover the inside, just turning it a little bit early down into 3.
Yeah, everybody's starting to space themselves out here. Good run there in the back from Partridge. Corbin also looking very good behind there. You see the multitude of lines that they're taking in. A little bit of a later apex there for Corbin. That should allow him to carry a little bit more momentum on the outside of the corner. And indeed, he's going to be in the catbird seat here, maybe ready to make a move.
The battle's starting to erupt back there between Dowd and Corbin. So riding on his gearbox down into the first corner, swinging a little bit high. Corbin leaves the door open, but Dowd can't capitalize. So they come down the backstretch through the dog leg and into turn 3. The 147, early turn in, lower line. Oof, late shot there from Corbin, but can't get to the bottom. Still holds on to the spot, but 2 very different lines between the 54 and the 147.
Yeah, absolutely. Very different lines for all these drivers right now as they're all trying to figure out how they're navigating through the traffic. I gotta let you know, though, the drivers who took their pit stops and are full up on fuel, they are not feeling super great right now. Christian Johnner is battling with Mark Stevenson, took his normal outside line and couldn't get it done. So he's just not feeling super great right now, as we saw a little bit of a juke out there from Dowd. So these lead pack drivers not feeling super settled in their machines with the lighter fuel loads. They're getting a little bit loose, whereas I feel like the drivers who have recently taken their pit stops are feeling a little tight and sluggish.
Yeah, the highest of those to have more recently stopped is Travis Warling in the 10th position. As we get a little bit of a pass here, Dowd finally getting underneath Corbin. He's going to snatch 5th place, and he'll be able to get back in line before Kuhn can overtake Scott. Oh, bad exit, though, by Dowd. Once again, make sure to block off the shorter distance at the bottom of the track. It's also still very close for the lead. Milwayne has caught back up to Waring, but these are teammates. Looks like there's no team orders, though, because Milwayne goes in the lead.
Well, they've got to be careful with that. Partridge there started to poke his nose to the inside of turn 1, and indeed he's going to poke his nose now to the inside down of Waring. If they continue to duke it out like this, that could hurt them, but I'll tell you who's taking advantage. That's Ray Partridge.
So it's an Evolve Motorsports 1-2. And are they going to be split up? Because it looks like Partridge wants to do so. A little bit of contact between himself and Dowd. Everybody checks up. That puts some distance between the top 2 and the rest of the pack, who are still side by side there. Milwayne and Waring have not got this one single file yet.
It's absolutely scattered everyone behind, but fortunately starting to string out yet again. Kevin Hill almost running into the back of Wayne Hutchison in that whole chaos. Lynn Kinchlow caught to the back of these guys now. Travis Worling, 1.5 seconds off of this battle, so he's really not moving forward right now, but this lead pack absolutely insane right now with the battles.
Yeah, before we saw the top 3, top 4 sometimes pull away. The top group now goes down to 9th. So it seems like it's a bit harder on this strategy to try and make distance as they come off of turns 1 and 2. Once again, Andrew Waring kind of sizing up Ozzie Milwayne, it looks like, and down into turn 3. High line once again from behind them. You can see the blue and green for Ray Partridge, trying something a little bit different from the top 2, seeing if that finds him an edge.
Trying to, and a Joe in the back there. Scott Corbin getting past just left, right, and center. He's getting a train run on him here. Dowd, Kuhn, Hutchinson. Now Hill has been able to get by the number 54.
I wonder if there's just a little bit of damage somewhere on the 54 here, that he's losing so many of them, or did he have to lift and that cost him the speed that he needs around here? As up at the front, another lead change. Waring back ahead of Milwayne. Dowd and Partridge still side by side. And a little bit of a poke to the inside from Dowd, too.
Yeah, Kevin Hill had to go wide to avoid running into the back of Wayne Hutchison this time around. And now Andrew Waring stuck there on that low side. Ozzie Milwayne on the high side. Dowd trying to stick his nose underneath both of them. It's still side by side for the lead. This is definitely holding up everybody. Warling now starting to close the gap down to 0.5 seconds, almost 3 wide there with Waring it down on Milwayne.
Oof, and yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we're seeing moves like this and we're not even halfway through. We heard Face talk about the survival aspect of this race being one of the key factors. And I'm not seeing much survival instinct from these drivers. Is side by side a little bit back there between Corbin and Hutchison. They fly down into turn 3 yet again. They've got Travis Worling behind them. Now is when it gets interesting.
Yo, very close there, as that was Worling being able to get on by Corbin.
Corbin, he's around. And he's hit. And I think Christian Chowder might have gotten a piece of that.
Osowski was the one that ran into him, and that was one of our major players. Now, what caused Corbin to hit the wall?
We need to ride on board with Christian for one of these replays because that was intense for him.
Looks like it was Lynn Kinchlow that made the contact that sent him spinning. But it was all losing control there for Corbin that starts it. No contact to really put him in that position. Car just snapped.
Look at Christian here.
Ooh. Did he?
No damage.
Wow.
Looking at his car right now, I don't see a lick of damage on Christian, and that is as close as you can get.
It looks like Face has been watching the replay on that once again, and what was happening on the entry to that corner. Face, what can you tell us?
Unfortunately, I think Corbin was just a little high on the entry there, and you know, if you don't get down low enough on that transition at the entry there, the car doesn't want to turn, so then you start pulling it more and you'll just pull it right around, unfortunately. So it looks like the leaders are going to pit here.
Yep, we're still... Nope, that is everybody. So all the ones that needed their stops are in, and no wonder why, DJ. We've hit lap 99 here, so this is pretty much at the perfect halfway point for them. And that'll cycle them back, but I guess they'll be on fresher tires now.
They'll be on fresher tires, but as Face said, they're going to struggle here for a couple of laps to get everything up and going because they're going to be on those full tanks of fuel. So now we're going to see everything switch back to the other side until the upper third of the field has to come back in to take what we presume to be their second stop, most likely. So we're going to see this sort of seesaw go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Well, we are possibly losing a few more drivers. Osowski's in pit lane after getting collected by that. Corbin is in pit lane. Let's see who all's used their spare cars amongst them. Looks like Corbin has not used his yet. I think Osowski is just taking his, because this is the first incident that he's been involved in, and I see one of his gone. Of the drivers who have taken their spare car, the highest right now is actually Bryan Halleck in the 21, and he's in second position. So not impossible to get yourself back in the game if you do have to pop in and use up the one on the trailer there, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, Halleck up there in second place with his fast repair gone. That's a stressful position to be in halfway through this race with it gone already. But that being said, he's in the best place he possibly could be, up front, running with some fast drivers. So he's got a little bit of safety buffer for him up there. It's the drivers who are further back that are going to be a little bit more stressed out, such as Liam Quinn down in 16th. He's used his fast repair, and he's right in the middle of the pack. We have Rob Powers back in 24th position, still in the lead lap, having used his fast repair. Everyone else using their fast repair, I stand corrected. Andrew Waring has used his, and everyone else has fallen off the lead lap at this point.
So we're on caution number 8, and that was in the first 100 laps. So if we go by that trend, we're going to be seeing about 16 here today. Just a little bit high, but we have been getting some good racing here and there. And they line up to launch off of turn 4 one more time. This time with Warling back on the top spot where he began this race and started most of our first few cautions. Pace car's in. It's a long hold this time, though, from Travis. Finally, he goes. Halleck is on the loud pedal as well. Lynn Kinchlow chasing. He's another one that has found his way back into the hunt despite falling back to the back of the field at one point with some pit stops. Although, speaking of falling backwards, Schmeier's already trying to see if he can take that third place away from him.
Yeah, trying to make the move on the outside here on those older tires. He will be able to make that move, and he'll be able to make it stick. And now it also looks like Mark Stevenson trying to get a move on Kinchlow.
Kitch has got front left wing damage, Joe. He's got major damage on that front left wing. That's really hurting his front straight line speed.
Oh, so that is what's happening there. So that'll certainly be a bit of a pain. He can come in on the next caution to try and get that repaired, see if it'll help him. But look at the just group of cars that he's been mired into. Behind him, Christian Challenger going to be able to easily overtake. Brenton Foster as well, looking around the outside with Justin Morton still giving chase. Morton is 3 laps down, though, so that's not 4 position for him. Oh, his things get a little tight there. I think that Brenton Foster thought he had a gap when there was none.
Yeah, indeed, tried to go for it there. Tries to go for it again. Very lucky. We're going to be 3 line through the draw leg and going down into turn 3.
Way up on the high side. It finally goes too wide once again. That was gutsy stuff from the 23. It worked in the end. That wouldn't have been my first choice, though.
I'm sure Justin's looking at this going, okay, Brenton, whatever you want, man. I mean, look, that was stressful stuff, but Lynn Kitchlow falling like a rock right now. He almost lost it coming through one that time around. He needs to come to the pits. I know he's trying to survive, but my goodness, that thing looks terrible to drive right now.
So as they fly down into the first corner once more, looks like Abramitis is going to be the next one to try and overtake. He's working on Will Fletcher. Kinchlow is in front of them. We come back to Bryan Halleck as well. Just a 10th behind Warling. But by the time they come into turn 1, he's not able to try and attack. They're pulling along Jeff Schmeier, another unusual name we're not used to seeing racing at the fronts of these majors fields. See if he can keep this up and put himself in position to maybe take a win towards the end of the race.
Very well could be, Joe, but I think right now Bryan Halleck looking very, very strong. Remember, he has yet to come back into the pits since lap 35, so he is the oldest one out there on a set of tires, and he is making that thing look easy. You can see just how much more turn-in he has. He's able to take later into the corner, really line it all the way through.
Watching Morton's on board now, coming down the front stretch towards turn 1. And coming off of there, he's got Christian Challenger, another one of those rival drivers in that mega team. As we watch from the Forge Racer. Ahead of them, it's also Mark Stevenson. He's in 4th position as we go side by side in front of them. And that is going to be Schmeier fending off Halleck in the number 21. We're down to 90 laps to go. We're on the downward slope from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Downward slope from here. And the reason we were watching Justin Morton is Morton's got himself 5 more cars before he gains a lap back. He's 3 laps down right now. And since there's no way to really be helped on the cautions, he's got to do it all on track. So that's why eyes have been on him. Jeff Schmeier, though, right now in that 2nd position, fending off Halleck. Mark Stevenson looking at Halleck right now. But Christian Challenger just took it a little bit deep through 1 last lap. And that has made him fall off the back of this train by 7/10.
We don't know if he legitimately doesn't have damage or if it just simply isn't visible. So he could still be struggling with a little bit of a loss of straight line speed, even if we don't see anything on the car. Some side-by-side between Stevenson and Morton. He's probably not going to be fighting Morton that hard. Stevenson will know that he is a couple laps down from him. We look at our leaders. Warling in the purple and white Udox car leading. Schmeier behind him in the teal and black for the Dog Bear team. Halleck once again in Forge, sitting in 3rd.
Yeah, just waiting here, that Forge machine. Ooh, good run there for Halleck coming through turn 3. He's going to bring that car up a little bit to the high side. Good block off for Schmeier as he tries to see what he can do. I got to say, Halleck looked like he backed everything up and was ready to make the move. Doesn't quite have it through turn 1, though.
So now we've got 3 Forge cars all together on track, but not fighting for position because of Morton being laps down here. But Stevenson and Halleck are fighting for position. This is for 3rd place. This is essentially for a podium position.
Absolutely, 2 teammates battling for position in Forge. Mark Stevenson takes it deep into 1, but gets a little bit tight. So this gives an opportunity for Halleck to look underneath. Stevenson's going to give him the room here, and they both go into 3. Stevenson coming down a little bit on Halleck, so Halleck backing out, touching the inside just a tiny bit. My goodness, Justin Morton is on a move, though. He's just ducked to the inside of Brian McGreevy to try and get by a little bit there. So I think Justin's suitably frustrated.
Yeah, I can understand. So he wants to try and get those spots back, get that lap back, and it seems like he's got the speed to try and do so here. Just needs the cautions to fall at the right time. McGreevy is actually not even someone he's fighting for position, even though McGreevy's not on the lead lap here. So I doubt we'll see the 68 fight too hard, although he can if he wants to. Doesn't have to just give way and let him through.
No, he certainly does not. Another good run there from Stevenson. He looks really much better on the last part of the track. Here comes Morton, a little bit of a squiggle there. Thought about going down to the inside. He's not going to do it. But yeah, Stevenson not looking as strong here. Now Morton with the crossover to the outside.
Wow, this is fierce stuff. Morton is definitely someone who just refuses to give up.
No!
And Stevenson's around.
Oh,
and this is because he was looking out at a stricken vehicle ahead of it. That was McGreevy who spun.
Yeah, we were riding on board when it happened. Was trying to take avoiding action. Got down below the yellow line, which you can do, but you can see how much it upsets the car. That's why nobody seems to do it, really.
You know who's the most mad about this? Justin Morton, because he's got to be stuck behind those guys in the lead.
Maybe this restart could allow him a shot to try and overtake it.
It's 49. Joe, it's 49 laps on the stint. Those guys might decide to come in.
Yeah, that's a good point. It was Bryan Halleck and Christian Challenger. No. Who was it? Eric Smith and Brenton Foster who suddenly saw our drivers cut back across the track. They always say, hold your brakes. And unfortunately, Bryan McGreevy did not hold his brakes. He dove across the track pretty quickly. Now, thankfully, nobody was hit. But there you see the onboard as he had to
Guess what?
leave his way through.
Guess what, Joe?
Did they
2 liters pit.
Oh, the racing gods like Justin Morton today.
Well,
He's going to get his lap back.
they like him right now.
Well, I know Face knows a little bit about him. Face, what can you tell us about Morton?
Well, I was watching him battle with the leaders there like you guys were, but I was going to say he doesn't, he may just want to hang there a little bit just for this reason, because I think those leaders were on a 2-stop strategy. So as long as he stayed ahead of the guys who are on the 1-stop, who are still fairly far back, he was in a pretty decent position even if he didn't pass the leader. So looks like it worked out for him.
And this gives a Forge driver the lead on the restart. Brian Halleck, trying to think if we've had any of the Forge drivers take the restart. Stevenson would be the only one, I think, who's been up there at brief moments, but I'm not sure if it was during a caution. Challenger, though, behind him has led on some of the restarts for the Mega Team, and he's going to be behind him once they get that green flag. But we still have the lights on the pace car here. Down to 79 laps to go. We're starting to get into the thick of it. And there's going to be fewer and fewer laps left. Remember, when they're at pace, these laps go by in only 22 seconds.
Yeah, they certainly fly at you, Joe, and you can really see just by that last run of green flag stops, we were able to clock pretty much an 1/8 of the race down. So some very, very quick laps coming at you. I think these 75 are going to absolutely fly.
So let's see. Halleck, Challenger, Eric Smith, Brenton Foster, Nick Ottinger, and Tom Abramitis. There's your top 6 on this restart. However, Challenger, Foster, Ottinger, and Abramitis are all Team Mega racers. So that's 4 out of the top 6 that are from the blue and white team, Adam.
Yeah, and believe it or not, Halleck is out there on 87 lap hold tires. This guy has been out there for longer than anyone. He's definitely doing this more than the split the race in half. I think he's doing a 2-stop strategy with an early pit stop. So because the early pit stop necessitated by his fast repair. So he's still probably, I mean, he could go to the end of the race like this, but we'll see what kind of pace he has here, Joe.
So the pace car will release him. Morton, by the way, not back on the lead lap. He's still 2 laps down, so he's got to do that 2 more times just to have a shot at finishing with the leaders, let alone considering some sort of victory. Pace car is in. Good jump from Bryan. So the 21 is going to lead the latest round here in the majors back to green as the Jimmy Bryan 200 is getting close to the last quarter. And a great run here from Christian Challenger. He's going to move around the outside, and he's got great grip around the outside as well. My goodness, he just clears him like he was standing still.
That is absolutely incredible, and that is what those fresher tires mean there. Halleck looking like he's about to get a train run on him. Smith going to dive down to the inside of the dog leg.
So the action is not abated. Driver is still very frisky, and Halleck, who is sizing up Eric Smith, can't find a way past yet. I'm sure he's in a bit of a hurry because he's got 3 blue and white mega cars behind him already.
Yeah, Smith went deep into 3, which made Halleck go deeper, and Brenton Foster go deepest into 3. So all of them fanning out through 3 and 4 that time around. But this time, it's a lot cleaner. Look at Smith. Oh, look at Halleck. He's thinking about going on the outside on the exit. Thinks better of it, falls back in line. But yeah, Halleck is definitely the one under pressure right now.
So Challenger on the point. Smith into second. Halleck trying to make good on 91 lap old tires while everybody around him has done around the mid-50s. We come back to the main straight once again. And a few drivers taking alternate lines as we get a look to the inside from Eric Smith. And he's going to take the lead away from Christian Challoner. Challoner tries to cut back. He's got decent momentum, but not the inside line.
No, not able to do it. He's just going to be forced to slot back in the line here. He's going to go back to that high side. That may open up a little bit of an opportunity for Bryan Halleck, who had a look, but decided not to go for it. Halleck washes up a little bit on the exit of 3.
Little poke to the inside from Foster on Halleck. Brenton wanting to try and get himself onto the podium here, and he's going to give another go at it. He is going to get the inside away from the red and white Forge driver. And flying off of turn 4. Oof. They're getting close to that outside wall again and again. And Halleck this time has to give up the ghost. The Forge driver is slotted into P4.
Halleck's car is driving pretty well, but unfortunately just doesn't quite have the pace on exit in order to hold on to these positions. So Halleck falling back from first down to 4th now after this restart. And I can report Steve Driscoll just passed Tom Abromaitis after Abromaitis took it too deep into 1 and 2 last lap. So now Tom falling back into 7th position and starting to fall back of his teammates.
One driver that's charging hard right now is Ozzie Milwane. Just about got a 2-for-1 through the first corner, but Ray Partridge rebuffs him. Now Brent Kirby is also fighting with him.
Sorry, I just saw for a moment that was Eric Smith who got a little bit loose, but look at this. Ozzie Milwane absolutely scything through the field and being fairly aggressive in doing so.
We now hop on board with 3rd place Brenton Foster. Top 3, barely a 10th between them at this lap 133. Coming down into turn 1, high line for Christian Challoner. Cuts back across, trying to use the clean air. He does get underneath Eric Smith. He took this one before. Can he take it again?
He's going to try for it. He's going to look at it. He's going to have it. There he goes. And that may let up a little bit of an attack here from Brenton Foster as well.
So, and I say Abromaitis and Driscoll also fighting a little bit. Looks like Abromaitis came out ahead on that one. Seen a lot of dicing, a lot of shuffling amongst these cars. Trying to figure out where is the place to be. How do I pass? What's the ideal method? As down to the inside was a look from Liam Quinn. Now there's a name I'm a bit surprised has been so anonymous up until now. Quinn is often known as one of the masters of the Indy cars, and that's on the oval and roadside. Yes, it's not an actual Indy car, but this seems like it should be in the wheelhouse of the 024.
Yeah, Liam, we've seen his success over the course of the major series, the major seasons on the ovals, and it's great to see him out there racing strong today, currently in 8th position, tucked in behind Driscoll and Kirby. And Liam's car looking a little tight himself. These unorthodox machines, they're tight to snap loose right now, I'm noticing, for these drivers. So a lot of them deciding to hang out on the high side to try and make sure to reinforce the speed off of the corners. So good runs from Kinetic right now.
We fly down the backstretch watching the top runners. This train currently goes back to Liam Quinn in that 8th position. There you see him in the dark blue car in the background. Kinetic not as big of a force as we've seen in seasons past. Wonder if they'll...
Oh, spin from Driscoll! Right in front of Liam Quinn, just as who we were talking about.
And I think Quinn managed to miss him. Yeah, looks like it. For a rare occurrence in today's race, we got a single car incident, the 62. Just going to start to lose the rear ends. Round it goes, and there's that open wheel oval experience for Liam Quinn to just keep the car tight down to the bottom.
Yeah, let's ride on board with Quinn here. Just watch this. Putting the car, as AJ Foyt used to say, where it is, where the wrecking car is. He brings it through, just keeps it nice and straight, doesn't overreact and try to avoid it, just puts the pedal down.
So do we see anybody else try and stop in where now going to be hitting lap 140 this time by, 62 to go. So if you did want to split into thirds, this is a good one. And indeed, there goes Eric Smith. There goes Brian Halleck. Looks like Brent Kirby. Not seeing any others. There's one of our UDOX cars, Len Kinchlow, last one on the lead lap. He's pitting in.
Yeah, hopefully he can get that wing repaired because it didn't repair the last time he went in, so he might have to use his spare car to get himself up to pace again.
And Andrew Waring asking those around him if he's got any damage on his wing. Looks like Mark Stevenson is the one answering.
Yeah, and he does a little bit of front left damage. He's got pretty much damage across his whole entire nose, so unfortunately that's going to be affecting his straight line speed and whether or not I think the car's going to feel pretty tight for him.
So when are we going to be restarting here? Is this going to be 60 to go? No. We're going to be restarting at least on 59 to go here because the lights are still on. But that's getting dangerously close to the final quarter of this one. Most recent drivers to have stopped. Smith comes back out in 17th, Halleck in 20th, Kirby 22nd. So many drivers stayed out, it looks like, DJ, that they didn't actually cycle back to the tail of the field. They came out kind of in the mid-pack, so that worked out somewhat decently.
Yeah, it certainly did. It's going to help them in terms of track position, but now that they're going to have about that 60 laps or so of fuel on board, look for them to struggle here in the first couple of laps, not only because of the fuel, because it also will take a couple of laps for these tires to really get into their operating window.
Look at the top four, though. Look at the colors on the cars. Sky blue and white. That's Challenger, Foster, Ottinger, and Abramitis. And here is where this is going to be almost a wall of cars for everybody else. Quinn's going to restart behind them, the first to approach, but he doesn't really have any kinetic teammates to help him. Ozzy Milwain is a lapped car behind because they've got, looks like Jason Wallet in between them, and then Carter Kundinger. So there's another of our kinetic drivers. Looks like Kundinger could help out Quinn maybe, but no other team has this sort of solidified presence in any place around the track right now. Lights are out on the pace car. Restarting on 58 to go. Four drivers, lap 147. And curious what sort of team orders maybe have been handed down. What are they expected to do here at this stage in this top group? Will they be completely free to race, or will they try and just stay in line, make life hard for all of those behind them? And they exit turn 4. So the pace car now drops into pit lane. Challenger waits for the go. There it is. Green flag is out. All four of them look to be pretty comfortably off the line. They fly down into turn 1 and start to pick up speed.
And here they go. Those four mega machines just starting to spread out. It looked like Ottinger and Abramitis didn't exactly get the best of jumps, but Liam Quinn holding on about 2.5 tenths of a second behind them.
And splitting up the top 4 into 2 pairs. That'll do well for Quinn, having to fight just 2 of them instead of all 4 at once. Could he pick them off a little bit by a little bit? Right now, he's just hovering behind them. Down to the inside goes Abramitis, and he is actually going to take 3rd place away from Ottinger. So I wonder if Ottinger is experiencing some of the damage on the back of the wing still. Looks like he's being threatened by Liam Quinn almost immediately on top of things.
Yeah, Quinn with a good run through 3 and 4 that last time by, but just couldn't get underneath Ottinger. Ottinger squeezed him on the exit of the corner. Ottinger, though, rear end sliding a little bit through 3 and 4 for him, so Quinn not super stable himself either. So both of these drivers dealing with similar feeling cars at the moment. So Quinn trying to late apex 1 and 2, but Ottinger looking very squirrely.
Yeah, gotta have those cars nice and tuned in here. Wynn probably can see that damage as well. So he's, I imagine, fully aware of what Ottinger is experiencing here. And he closes in along the front stretch before he runs out of straightaway, out of turn 2. Can he get a better launch this time to maybe try and attack on the 25?
He's certainly going to try to. It just seems like every time he tries to go, he runs the high line here because Ottinger's defending the low line quite well. But as he tries to get a little bit of the crossover, he catches just a hair of that arrow wash off the back wing, and we've got another yellow.
Kevin Hill's around.
Ooh, and somebody else. Trying to figure out who that is.
Scott Corbin?
Scott Corbin, yeah, who is already 2 laps down. And Corbin did not start this one. He just clipped it. Oh, man, he almost got by. Kevin Hill got sent around by contact with Eric Smith. So one of our drivers who is trying to come back through the field. And there you saw the secondary contact on top of things. Poor Scott Corbin's car got hit on pretty much every single corner. There's not much left of it, frankly. And he's already taken his spare car. So Corbin's going to be our latest DNF. There you see. Wow. Wow, what a hit.
That is some heavy impact into the wall there, Joe. That is going to be day pretty much done.
Yeah, with no spare car and just a little over 50 laps left. That's Corbin's basically been sent to the showers right now.
So, Adam, I have a question for you. If you're Christian Challoner and these guys, you've got 50 laps to go. Do you take a pit stop here, or do you just stay out and keep going?
And we'll see if we can get an answer from Face on that one here soon.
Okay, you tricked me there. You called me Adam this time. No, I think all the regular strategies are done. You might see an oddball 1 or 2, but I think everybody has mostly played out their plan at this point. In Euro Pro, we had a couple of guys pit around this time that were able to make their way back to the front, but we had a lot fewer cars on the lead lap at that point. You could do it if you pitted now and if you've got a really fast car, but you're also getting to the point in the race where you don't know how much green you're going to get. I mean, you know, if you get way back there and you start getting yellow after yellow, you could just run out of time. So I sure would not want to be pitting right now.
Well, one driver who did pit was Nick Ottinger, and that was because he had a very specific reason. We thought maybe he was a bit slow due to the damage. He thought so too, because he just took his spare car and restarting with less than 50 to go when we come back. So playing the role of Lionel Little Train Callisto here today is the number 25. Callisto was kind of notorious for winding up getting into trouble early, saving his spare car, and somehow being in the hunt for wins by the end just by popping in, getting the spare car, getting back into it. But for Ottinger now, DJ, he's restarting from 19th, so he's got to make some passes.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of work to do to get his way back up through the field, but if anybody can do it, it is him. Driving for that powerhouse that is Team Mega, he has got a lot of power to come.
And as we get ready to restart, we've got the lights on. I think they're going to be going off this time by... Trying to see if any of our other front runners have lost their spare. Looks like Liam Quinn, one of those.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eyes on Liam right now. He's got a lot of stress right now because he's surrounded by those mega team drivers up there, kind of on his lonesome in his kinetic machine up in 4th position. Liam Quinn's got some work to do, but he's got plenty of room to do it and a lot of clean track in front of him.
Now, what surprises me is the Forge team was a very heavy presence earlier on. Where did they go? What happened to all of them at this stage?
Good quali set, not necessarily a good race set, sounds like to me.
Yeah, it could be. I think a bit of it was some bad luck because guys like Osowski, getting collected out there. But man, I would have thought we'd see more of them trying to challenge because Forge is usually impressively good on the oval races, at times doing what we see with Mega does and just locking out the front positions. This time it's a top 3 restart for Mega, but it's still Christian Challoner who leads as he takes the green flag and he accelerates away. And, very good start, I think, for Travis Warling, who's going to overtake Milwayne, possibly for the 5th spot there in the background. Little contact between himself and Milwayne.
Oh, that is not good. You do not want to be having that bumping and banging here at this point in the race, but he's able to get himself ahead of Milwayne at this point.
Not surprised, Warling starting this race on the pole. He knows he's got to move now. He's got to get back up to where he's got track position and can fight with the mega team. Those three have now split up slightly. It's Abramitis who is dropping off. Foster and Challoner separating themselves by about half a second.
And Joe, it's important to note, Travis Warling has the youngest tires of everybody in front of him by at least half. So he's got very young tires to play with. He's got tons. He's got good fuel to play with. Travis Warling may have the fastest car at the end of this race, but he's got a fast Liam Quinn and then 3 mega drivers in order to take the lead.
And Travis just set his personal fastest lap of the race last time by. Let's see what this one is. Nope, not quite as quick. About a 10th off, but a 22.758 as the leaders are doing 22.8s. So yes, he does have a faster car right now based on what we're seeing. We hop on board with the man in front of him, Liam Quinn.
And Quinn, again, getting a pretty good run out of that final corner. Is he going to have a little bit of a look here down to the inside of Abramitis? He's going to think about it. He's going to go for it. They're going to be side by side through one.
Mega nothing, he says. He's going to show them what Kinetic's been made of. They've been the ones to beat in recent seasons here in the majors. As Kinetic sends Liam Quinn into the podium, Abramitis gives way.
Beautiful pass from Quinn. Such power down on the bottom side in order to make that pass work. Quinn absolutely tried to prove that Kinetic has the measure of everybody when it comes to these ovals. But my goodness, fighting against 3 mega team teammates. Brenton Foster looks quicker than Christian Challoner, and he might have to try and make a move on Challoner, else he might get passed by Quinn entering 1.
Took a little bit of a look. Now, here's a strange thing going on as we go side by side now between Quinn and Foster for second place. And Quinn backs off a little bit coming off of turn 2. Still has some overlap. He could try and get this one done down through 3 and 4. And he wants to slide up, but he can't. A little brush to the wall from Foster.
Oh, getting very, very close there, and that's going to push Foster up out of the way. Quinn up into second as we tick over with 41 laps to go. He's got one man in front of him, and that is your reigning champion, Christian Challoner.
We got a caution.
Bob Powers is around.
Out of turn 2. Spins it on his own. Didn't hit anything. This might be a first. Look at this. Gets loose. Everybody is able to avoid. Nice little 360. Locks it up. By that point, the caution's already out, so no point in trying to get going. And he is going to return in second place, but no damage on the car. So well done to the 47.
And DJ, this is why you lock it down.
Yep, that's why you lock it down and hold the brakes. You keep it off the wall.
Now, Face, I kept trying to get to a point, and now I can finally maybe talk about it here. Travis Warling initially was quicker, but then when he got out of traffic, he went slower. That is exactly opposite of what I thought would happen. And I mean, is there something strange about these front runners that we should know and what they're experiencing up here?
Well, I'm not sure. I was really surprised about that as well. I expected him to start chasing those guys down. We'll see what happens here. It may just depend on the way his car is trimmed. Now that he'll be in their draft on the restart, he may be fine. We'll just have to see. But, it's funny watching those guys race for the lead. A lot of those guys, let's see, you got Challoner's on 90-lap old tires, Foster's on 90-lap old tires. When the tires are that old, you almost kind of want to be in second or third. The leader, he's getting the most air on his nose, and these cars, like I said before, they gain so much oversteer, and the leader is getting the most of that. And sometimes being in second or third actually stabilizes the car because of that little bit of dirty air, as weird as that sounds. So it's funny when you get to this part in the run, you might want to hang out in second, but sometimes it's hard to because that lead car just slips up a little bit, and then so you try to pass them, and you know, it should be interesting here, especially because, like we said, these guys are done pitting, so they're going to have 130 laps on their tires by the time that race is over.
Lights stay on for this lap. We've now lost Daniel Johnson, Brian McGreevy, Aaron Roos. Now Nick Kuhn has disappeared for some reason, and I have not seen the official disconnect message from iRacing for the 19 car, but I haven't seen him in a lap under pacing too, which is an even longer lap. So I am going to take a safe bet that he's going to have an official disconnect announcement any day now.
That's a fairly fair assessment, Joe. But yeah, this is really shaping up. 38 to go. I anticipate we should be getting good to go here with 36 laps to go is when we will see the green flag. Going to be a lot of aggression. I wouldn't be surprised, knock on wood, if this isn't the last caution that we see. I think you're going to see a lot more drivers trying to push as hard as they can.
Yep. And I believe the lights are now out on the pace car, so let's get ready to go racing once again. Curious to see if we can get this to go while under green, and as well, Adam, if we can finish under green. This isn't NASCAR style. We don't have a green-white checkers for this.
No, absolutely not. So Christian Challener's going to try and get away as fast as possible and try and not let Liam Quinn pass. I mean, like, this is old traditional racing. You don't have a second chance. So it's everyone for themselves at this point in the race, and those drivers who are tucked in with everyone else, the lap cars, good luck. These lead lap drivers are going to be wanting to take everything and get nothing back.
And could it get a little bit more sketchy because of that? Will we see more aggressive moves knowing they need that track position in case of a yellow? And Quinn, it's been a while since he's taken a victory here in the majors as the green flag comes out. Could he snatch this one away from Christian Challener? I don't think he's even anywhere near the top of the points as they come through turns 1 and 2. Very, very single file on this restart. That's about the most organized we've seen it.
Yeah, everybody having a little bit of caution here and listening to my words of caution, apparently. But rest assured, Joe, I think these guys are going to get scrapping here very, very early. It looks like Quinn's lost a little bit of time off to the back of Challener, but Foster's starting to close in behind Quinn.
Quinn, 3 wins to his name. Compare that to the 11 times more that Challener has had, 33 for him. We'll have to check the stats to see when was the last one. I do believe 2 of them are Indy 500s, though, for Liam Quinn, which I think is more than what Christian has here in the majors. Those Indy 500s are hard to come by, but this might be a good other victory here for Christian Challener in an open wheeler on an oval. And Abramitis just set the fastest lap, trying to charge his way back through the field. Look at the challenge from the high side from Brenton Foster in the meantime.
Look at Foster going to the low side now, switching it over on Liam Quinn, trying to put pressure on Quinn so that Quinn doesn't put pressure on Christian. This is a great move, great teammate move from Foster to try and take the pressure off of Challener by getting side by side with Quinn. And this should allow Challener to streak away a little bit so long as Foster could keep putting pressure on Liam Quinn. And here comes another teammate, Abramitis, to try and put more pressure on Quinn.
So Abramitis now getting into it. And it was Ottinger who I was thinking of, not Abramitis, who was having to come back through the field. And where is Ottinger right now? Got to find him as we watch this battle between our top 4. It looks like Ottinger's up to 12th, so is making passes, and he does have time to get back into this. Now behind them, as things get close off the corner, behind them is Travis Warling.
You read my mind there, Joe. That purple number 90 machine starting to stalk up behind, able to take a little bit of a narrower line through the dog leg and run it wide. He's going to come on down here, see what he can do. He gets a good run off of 3.
So he's caught the top 5, and it looks like they're starting to race in a little bit of a line. And as soon as I say that, Travis says, no, I'm not. I'm going for the move. But he washes out. He can't get past Abramitis that time. So the low side didn't seem to work. Maybe the high side?
Yeah, Travis Warling just way past, but these Mega Racing Team drivers have this under control right now. Well, that being said, Liam Quinn very close to Brendan Foster on the entry of one, forces Foster into a higher line than he would even like, and now they're side by side, but this is all letting Christian Chalmers streak away.
And it's looking like passes are now becoming just a bit harder to execute. Quinn finally able to get through there. I wonder if there was some give and take that we were seeing before, DJ, that were allowing drivers to get by.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of lifting as a driver went in, and now as we tick down under 28 laps to go, there is no more lifting. It is absolute go time for these drivers as we're still side by side between Foster and Quinn.
28 laps to go. Oh, there's a bobble for Quinn. He catches it. It drifts almost all the way up to the wall, but it looks like he actually could still catch up to this group. That was a heart and throat moment.
And Warling says, thank you very much. I'll take that one position. Puts him almost onto the podium. Let's take a look at this from Quinn. Enters 3 and 4. You can see the back end coming around. He just barely snatches it. Manages, he got up into the ground. He got up into the marbles and still hung on to that thing. That's some serious wheelmanship right there.
Ooh, that, again, I said it before, that is experience that Quinn showed right there. I think a lesser driver would have panicked more and just snapped it right to the barrier. But he's caught back up, so it's still a 5-car fight for the lead. By the way, Ottinger, he's up to 10th already. He's gotten 2 more since then.
Yeah, he is on a definite move here, and here comes Quinn looking down to the inside of Travis Warling. Is he going to have that move? Yes, he is. I think Warling, that may have been a little bit of a back off as we've got more action in the back.
Yep, it looks like coming through. Oh, and we got a caution.
Oh, Lynn Kinchlow and Wayne Hutchison, and they've been absolutely collected.
And it looks like that was going to be, oh, Andrew Waring. Andrew Waring caught it. 2nd place in the points. Car is smoking. Trying to see if he's taken his spare car.
He has. He has.
Oh. A DNF on the day. Oh, wow. And that was after the incident happened, too. Taking a few looks at the replay here. Yeah, there he was hitting him. He's the green car that you saw, the Evolve Motorsports driver. Kind of locked in, it looked like, when he came in there. There was just cars all around, probably just had no place to go.
Yeah,
guys,
that's exactly what happened there to him, Joe. What were you going to say, Adam?
Oh, I was just going to say, we're going to restart with about 20 to go here. This is going to be a barnstormer of a finish if we make it under green.
My goodness. So there we see him eventually coming onto his wheels, but the smoking engine is a telltale that you've got too much damage on the motor. You've got to get it repaired. Otherwise, it's going to blow, or you've probably got a meatball flag on you anyways. And well, I'm not going to know that because I can see he's officially retired. He's put up his checkered flag next to his name on our timing and scoring, which means he's out of this race and cannot re-enter. Whew. So we are on caution 13, I believe now.
That is correct. 13 cautions. And while we were watching that battle for the top 5, we saw it for an instant. But the battle for 6th on back between Ozzie Milway, Nathan Dowd, Ray Partridge, Jeff Schmeier, and Nick Ottinger was absolutely insane. Those guys were giving no quarter, and I was expecting the caution to come from that spot. So this lead battle has been intense, but there are battles all over the track for these guys.
And just trying to take a chance to see if I could dig up some stats here and look at some of the wins over the years, see if I can figure out who was our winner for, or how many wins the last win was for Quinn, but not able to pull that up. I'll try and see if I can dig that up in a bit because, like I said, I can't. It definitely wasn't last year, I'm pretty certain. So it's been at least a year and a half since we've seen that. That said, I don't believe Brenton Foster has a win to his name, and I know that Abramitis does not. So Travis Warling does, though. Travis has taken 5, so he has definitely had plenty out there. Just digging up a little bit here behind the scenes to try and find out who's got what. No, Foster has not had any wins at all. So he is not on the winners list. What about Abramitis here? Nope, none for Abramitis either. And pace car lights look to be off. So DJ, here we go. We are now going to be 20 laps to go on this restart. This is going to be frenetic.
Yeah, this is going to be absolutely foot to the floor, no lift racing. Look at these top 5 to really be duking it out. Look for Warling in particular. He is the one to watch for.
Christian Challoner going to be trying for win number 34. Will he be able to tack that one on, extend his all-time record? There goes the pace car. Green flag is out. Very good jump for Challoner. Quinn, though, not very close to the back of Abramitis now. Ottinger restarts back in 10th, away from his teammates. Don't count out Ozzie Milwane. He's still in there for the Evolve team. And Nathan Dowd with the Dog Bear team sits in 7th. This restart bunches everybody back together. Will this give a shot to maybe a few that thought that had slipped away?
Yeah, eyes are on Travis Warling right now, but he fell off the back of Liam Quinn. Liam Quinn has been able to get himself back up to the back of those Mega Racing Team drivers up there for the top 4, but my goodness, we're going to see a little bit of stringing out here as we see Nathan Dowd trying to make a move right now on Ozzie, trying to go around the outside.
Gets a decent run. Ozzie tries to park it low, but looks like better grip for Dowd. And despite having the same age tires, makes that one look easy behind them. Nick Ottinger is already getting ready to overtake Ray Partridge. And that is going to be for 8th place as we come back to our leaders now. And a little bit of fanning out as drivers try to get air on the front wings of those cars. Looks like Abramitis is tired of playing third fiddle. He's going to attack on Foster now.
Yes, he is, but they've got to be very careful. Liam Quinn did set the fastest lap last time out there. He's going to dive down to the inside. He's going to think about trying to maybe make a little bit of a move here as they go too wide. Pick a lane and figure out which one's going to give you the most speed.
Abramitis likes the bottom, but the pinch there coming off the corner slows him down. Foster fights back into turn 1. Hasn't usually given the outside much of an advantage. Maybe it will this time. Look at the looseness for Abramitis. He gives up a bunch there.
Yeah, Abramitis giving up a bunch of grip down that bottom side, looking like he's very loose. Liam Quinn trying to hang on to it, but he's a little snap loose himself. Travis Warling now has caught up to the back of these guys, and they've got 2.5 seconds to Nathan Dowd and Ozzie Milwane and Nick Ottinger, who are all side by side right now. Whoa, that was close from Abramitis and Foster.
And now he's under threat from Quinn. He had a horrible run off of turn 2 there. Quinn could maybe get back into 3rd place. Yeah, it looks like these top 5 have a huge pace advantage. Even with the side-by-side battling that we're seeing, we watch from 5th place Warling.
Oh, and Joe, you can actually side draft a little bit in these cars. You normally see it on more super speedways, as that was Warling getting way up the track. But there goes Liam Quinn up into the podium positions.
Challoner wasn't fast down the backstretch either. Foster started to catch him. Could he deny him and get his maiden win here in the majors? Looks like Quinn's getting interested now that he has locked down that 3rd, or has he? Abramitis wants it back, and Foster wants the lead. He gets underneath Challoner.
Absolute insanity up here in the lead back. Liam Quinn trying to find a place to go, but the Mega Team Racing drivers are using the police box maneuver. Gets loose again and manages to save it for a 2nd time.
Almost a carbon copy of what happened before. Side by side for the lead. Challoner on the high side, Foster on the bottom side, and now 2 wide for 3rd, but no, looks like that bottom line does not work for Warling. We've seen him get loose off of there multiple times. Abramitis sitting in 3rd, Foster and Challoner going wheel to wheel to sort this one out. We come down to 11 to go this time by.
Warling starting to get very interested. We got a yellow.
Brett Kirby.
He collected a lot of folks.
Looks like William Fletcher got involved. Unfortunately. Oh, and this was
the nose of Eric Smith.
And yeah, and Joey Haynes. Oh, Joey Haynes. Oh no, if we want a replay, The Evolve number 33 just basically saw his life flash before his eyes. Let's take a look at this here. Yes, this is a perfect angle. This is what you do not want to see.
Oh my gosh.
Just parked immediately where he had placed the car. Sheer bad luck. I think he's stunned there. I think he didn't... he just kind of came to a coast, going to a straight line, like unbelieving that just happened.
I'm just hoping he's okay. Direct drive wheels could put a lot of force through him now.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, that hopefully he didn't snap his wrists or something from that, because that would be extremely painful. Okay, so a restart with probably about 7 or 8 laps to go now. That track position is going to be key. And DJ, we saw Challoner and Foster racing side by side, lap after lap. This might come down to, if we get a late caution, who has those inches ahead when the yellow is thrown.
You're very right, Joe. And the other thing here is, do remember, though, that it took a lap or two for everybody to get caught up to one another. Challoner was able to pull everything out, so that's going to raise the stakes here a little bit, and I think drivers are really going to want to be pushing at this restart even more than they were last time to make sure that those gaps do not build over the first lap or two.
To wait and see. Obviously, the strategy at this point is nobody in. And I can report we've lost Johnson, McGreevy, Roofs, Corbin, Kuhn, Waring, and Kinchlow. I see Justin Kirby and Ethan Osowski still sitting in pit lane taking repairs. I think we can call them official retirements now with less than 10 laps to go. Joey Haynes and Brent Kirby involved in that last incident. Those were both monstrous hits, probably also official DNFs pretty soon. So as we come back around, the lights are still on. So yeah, this actually could be 6 to go.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 6 to go, and this will likely be our final restart unless we get a wreck going on the first lap of this. So it's interesting because it takes about 2 laps for these cars to get racy, and that's going to mean it's going to be about 3 to go by the time they get racy. We've got a faux green-white checker right here.
Yeah, not quite a real one, and we don't have ones that will come out. If you missed that before when we were explaining that, this is going to be run to the finish, whether it's green or yellow.
And also the lap cars do filter back to the back of the field now
yes.
that we are under 20 to go.
I'm glad you remembered that. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah. But I'm sure the drivers up at the front are appreciative of that too, as yeah, there we go. Lights are now off. And the other thing to remember is a quirk about iRacing is it's almost old school NASCAR style. Once you get the white flag, it cannot throw a yellow. We basically go to the finish no matter what happens once that white flag comes out. So cross your fingers that if we do get any incidents, it is not until the last lap of these 200.
Indeed, Joe, but here they come. Lights are out. 6-lap dash to decide who will take the crown here at the Jimmy Bryan 200.
If you're a betting person, I'd say anybody from the mega team is probably a safe bet here, but we could see Warling, we could see Quinn disrupt that. A long shot for guys like Dowd, Milwayne. Ottinger has worked up to 8th already. Pace car is in. Challoner has control. Green flag is out. 6 laps to go. Will we make it to the finish under green? Next caution is likely going to finish this race if we get one as they come out of turn 1. Start to pick up speed, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was a good jump from Travis Warling compared to the Mega Team guys. The Mega Team all together with each other, but Liam Quinn got the worst jump out of that, but now he's clinging to the back. Look at this, a nice move from Foster on Foster, and look at them, they're almost fanning out 3 wide as they go through turn 1.
Yeah, Bromidis got underneath Challoner, but he couldn't get the launch off the corner. They got to be careful if they keep fighting each other. The 4th and 5th place cars could try and take advantage and get that track position. They come around. Now 4 laps to go. Abramitis still to the inside slightly of Challenger, not letting him get down, but Challenger's been mostly ahead of him during much of the lap. There was a dive from Worling, but he seems to hate that inside line. The car never seems to exit turn 2 well.
No, it does not, but he's trying to hold it on down into 3. A little bit of a squiggle, a little bit of a run up the track there. It's going to be Abramitis ahead at the line with 4 to go.
He leads. 3 to go now. Challenger under threat from Worling. He managed to finally get the speed on the bottom line working for him. He's trying to threaten for the second place, get himself into where he needs to be. All this close racing. Will someone make a wrong move and send a wreck into the air? Look at in the background. Quinn still kind of hunting everybody. Does he have something up his sleeve? We are down to 2 laps to go. Abramitis with the advantage as Challenger comes up around the outside, Adam.
Yeah, Worling with a little bit of a squirrely moment there on the bottom as he was snapped tight on the exit of the corner. Christian Challenger trying to stay off the back of Abramitis. They're going to go 3-1 as they come down the front stretch with Travis Worling on the bottom. There's contact. They still keep going.
Worling all the way to the bottom, but he doesn't have the speed. He's pinched too far to the inside. Challenger on the high side. He's going to be able to get the nose ahead. We are going green to the finish. Abramitis has the inside, but can he get it off the corner? He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead, but it's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it? Abramitis takes the win by 7 thousandths of a second. The top 5 were only 700ths between each other. Unbelievable finish.
Oh my goodness gracious, Joe. That is one of the closest finishes we have seen in Majors history. There is no other way than to check out a replay of this. My goodness.
They almost finished 5 wide across the line. Look at this from above. This would be a good slow-mo as they come to the white flag here. So this is not to the finish. And there's the contact. Oh, man. That, thankfully, I don't think would have brought out the caution, but also didn't take out our leaders. A little bit of a wider entry, and maybe we could have seen Worling be able to pull something. But now they come around back on that final 2 corners. And underneath both of them, Worling just about snatched this away. He wound up in 3rd. Look at this. Challenger inches from managing to come back and take that win.
That was almost 5 wide at the finish line with these guys. I mean, talk about racecraft. What an amazing race. What an amazing finish from these top 5, from this whole field.
We got to catch our breath after that one. So we're going to take a quick break here on the majors, and we'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. So stick around. And a tip behind him. That's going to be a spin from Goodell. Maybe no, he catches it. How in the world did he catch that?
I have no idea, and I'm not sure Ryan Goodell did either, but he comes back onto the track. A little bit of a check up there around him. That was incredible.
And taking advantage of that, Clayton Ham. Let's take another look at this replay. The 14, all sorts of sideways, and it starts to look like the car wants to go again. That's why he went on the apron. I thought maybe he just was slow and was trying to get out of the way, but he had to save it twice. We are indeed Brunschweiler to the inside of the pair of them. That might not necessarily be the best line unless he can get it woed up in time. He's the bravest on the brakes, and he is going to get it. Wow, the 4 moves up to 5th in a 2-1 move. Side by side between Burns and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has the inside, but not a nose ahead at first under braking. It starts to go back ahead. They're going to go wheel to wheel through here, giving each other space. Now it's a drag race, DJ, on who gets to the line first.
And it's going to be a shorter line there for David Burns, but it's not giving any room by Johan Vanderbilt. They're going to dive down into the corner. Little bit of bumping and banging, but who's it going to be? I think it's Burns by 22 thousandths of a second.
Meanwhile, up towards the front for TCRs, this has now swapped. Waring has swapped with Hardman. That took place last time by down the front stretch. Now looking to swap back. Look at this. Ascend to the inside. Hardman runs along the curb in the hairpin and just about completes the pass and does. Battle for second now up as Wager tries to send his way in for Britannia iSports.
Wow, this is a three-way battle for that first position. All these guys are fighting for the lead. This is
three wide.
Really nice three wide going into Cunningham around a Collier. I can't tell who's going to make it out of this in front of this whole pack, but it looks like it's going to still be Hardman. Andrew Hardman doing a beautiful job to hold on to the lead there.
He's been slowly working his way up through the field. I wouldn't have expected it there. Brown maybe thinking about a 2-for-1.
Wow, great heads up by Johnson, who sees him coming and gives him space, and great braking by Travis Brown. I didn't think there was any way that he managed to get side by side.
Nor did I, but he runs wide there, and that's going to open up the door back for Jeffrey Shulam.
Wheel to wheel, fighting for the 9th position, and it looks like Shulam might have it. Travis Brown cutting back underneath. He's going to fight back on Jeffrey, who's had his hands full for just about the last 5 laps in its entirety, and unfortunately, once again, he is snookered around the outside of Sayat. Welcome back to Phoenix International Raceway as we just watched the Jimmy Bryan 200 here for the majors. Tom Abromaitis was our winner as Christian Challenger wound up in second, 7 thousandths behind him. But look at the results all the way down to 5th. It was still only 700ths, as it was only 1,000th between Foster and Quinn there in 4th and 5th. Warling rounding out the podium. Nick Ottinger was 6th behind them, trying to play catch up to his team, but couldn't get there by the finish. Nathan Dowd was 7th and Ozzie Milwayne in 8th. Mark Stevenson, the first representative there for Forge, only 9th for them. A strange finish for them as Jeff Schmeier rounds out your top 10, DJ.
In 11th place, it was Eric Smith, followed by Ray Partridge with Carter Kundinger and Brian Halleck behind them. William Fletcher rounding out your top 15. Brian Barnes was 16th, followed by Rob Powers, Kevin Hill, and Jason Wallet. Powers being a lap down, as was Hill and Wallet. Justin Morton finished 20th, 2 laps down. Adam?
Then we had the drivers who had some real trouble. Steve Driscoll, 3 laps down in 21st, and Brent Kirby, 11 laps down in 22nd. Everyone else having some major troubles at the end of this race. Joey Haynes, Wayne Hutchison, Lynn Kinchlow down to 25th position. Andrew Waring, Nick Kuhn, Scott Corbin, Aaron Roofs, Brian McGreevy, Ethan Azowski, Daniel B. Johnson, Justin Kirby, and then Ryan Steele did not start.
And as we take the opportunity to talk to Tom Abromaitis, who finally gets his first win in the majors, that has got to be a big burden off of his back, because Tom, you've been up there for these first few races of the season. To finally have the win and in a fashion like this, what does this mean to you?
It's big. It's big. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if Christian needed another one. So if I took it off of Brent, maybe I'd feel a little bad, because I feel like he maybe had a Daytona win lined up. But yeah, it's everyone wants a coin, you know.
Absolutely. And talk about what it's like fighting with your teammates there at the end of the race. Were you guys in communication with each other at all? Was there any chatter on the radio, or did it become silent so that you could all focus in those last 8 laps?
Well, yeah, we're in voice, and for the last couple restarts, Christian and Brent were both like, "Oh, I'm getting free. The car is not really under me." And there's like, we'd get to 1 to go, and I go, "I don't know, I'm feeling like I have some tire. I'm feeling pretty good." And Christian kind of laughs and he goes, "Oh, I think that's Tom's code for he wants to pass us. He wants through." But yeah, it was like we can't wreck each other. But beyond that, I think it was more stressful racing teammates, honestly. Like, had it just been a couple random guys from other teams, that's like one thing. But I absolutely did not want to wreck, the 3 mega cars in position for like great points, but I did want to win. So
it's the eternal struggle for racers. So now that you've got this win, where do you go from here? You came into this sitting in 5th in the points. Do you think you can maybe challenge Christian to finally get that crown away from him, or is he too fast or something like that?
Well, the thing is, when you're in the same car as Christian and Nick, in fairness, yeah, he hasn't had the best luck, but and Brent's no slouch either. But being in the same car as Christian and Nick, they're, hard to beat in anything. So I would need some luck, and by that I mean some bad luck upon them. So I don't think I'd wish that upon them. They probably have the title locked down, but we'll see what we can do. But yeah, happy with that win.
Well, it's understandable that you wouldn't want that on your teammates, but who would you like to thank that helped put you in victory lane this evening?
My teammates for sure, working on the car. I kind of had a busier weekend, and they put in most of the time. I just kind of tweaked on some stuff yesterday, but they definitely got the car in a better position, and also my wife, because I'm up here racing again, this evening. So she had to put down a toddler to bed herself. So, she definitely deserves some credit.
That was Tom Abramitis, your winner for the first time in the majors here today, as DJ has caught up with second place Christian Challenger, along with the rest of the mega team, Foster and Ottinger.
Well, guys, there is no way to start this off other than saying, what a finish. My goodness gracious. Talk me through your emotions on that last lap.
All right, who wants to go first?
I mean, it was pretty intense racing with our teammates there.
I had a very good seat seeing all the 3 wide and almost 4 wide action in front of me. That was pretty intense to watch that happen. I thought they were about to junk.
He was out here in the back because he decided that he needed his new front wing when he was up in P4.
I needed a rear wing. The thing was damaged.
Okay.
How am I going to defend on straights?
That didn't look like it was a problem for us. You just have the whole track filled.
Look, you didn't have a car land on your wing, to be honest with you.
Ladies, you're both beautiful.
But no, it was a lot of fun. I went for the top because I thought it was going to be like the place to be. I know obviously Dallas got turned around in the last lap of Europe, but it looked the place to be defensively. And to be honest, I just didn't really feel comfortable running the bottom. I felt like I was kind of loose down there the entire time. So I was much happier to run the top as a defensive line. I felt like I could get the run to the line. What I didn't count on was Travis going 3 wide on that last lap, and that actually really threw me off balance. I don't think it practically made any difference, but it worried me a bit, because then when we were coming on the backstretch, I was actually asking Tom if we were like okay to move down, and I knew he was going to run me up in 3 and 4, and I was going to pinch him down, and I just didn't want to wreck like at all. I wanted to win, and I pinched him as much as I did to do it, but I really, really did not want to wreck, because we had that run at Daytona that we didn't get the finish that we wanted from, and this was, it looked pretty nailed on, and I just really wanted the team points, so it was super cool to get that.
Well, I mean, Brenton, I want to talk to you very quickly. You were just kind of pinned up behind there. I mean, were you going through trying to figure out if there was any way you could get by, or talk me through that?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I was following Christian for a while. I think I remember with like 50 to go, I was behind him. And at that time, I was content to just sit behind him. No need to fight him at that point. But that doesn't mean I wasn't paying attention to where I might have had an edge over him. I'm not sure I actually did. I mean, it's Christian, but, you're always looking for that opportunity. And then, with the last restart, we all kind of agreed it was time to race. And, Tom got it done.
Well, guys, I mean, this is a massive, massive statement on the entire field once again. How confident are you feeling about this team's championship with a lockdown like this?
I think it's pretty good. I mean,
do we go to cliche and just say it's mega? Because I think it's quite mega.
I think we can. I'll go with that. It's mega.
Very mega.
I think we've kind of, we obviously I won races with the Kinetic team before, and I was kind of hoping to be able to do the same with this team, but we really did sort of just kind of do it for fun. I would say, and I think it was really like, in the first round at Watkins we were pretty good. Like we all had, I say we all had good races.
We had some
Brent
issues.
Brent and Nick managed to find each other even though they were in different classes, so that wasn't too great.
And
But it was
I got sent in a bus stop, and then I got sent by my teammate.
right. But then when we kind of had all the teamwork going on at Daytona, that was kind of like, okay, well, yeah, when we're like grouped up, we were obviously very, very good. And I think then with the V8 round, I think we all kind of did better than we expected, except maybe Ottinger over there. I mean, he actually put a pretty decent amount of time into it and was just, ridiculously fast. So I think he got the result he was expecting. But I mean, I know I did better than I thought. And team points wise, we had a really, really good round, and I don't think we were particularly expecting that. We put like barely any focus on qualifying, so we weren't too worried about that. We were only really, really worried about being able to get through the field and not, getting wiped out early on, which fortunately for Ottinger didn't happen. He lost his rear wing essentially on lap. Was it lap 1? It was either lap 1 or lap 2. It was very, very early
Lap 4
on.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was unfortunate, but otherwise we just kind of did the same thing that we did at Daytona. We just had a strategy stuck to it, and it played out about as good as it could have done.
Well, I'd certainly say it played out just about as good as it could, Christian. But to all three of you guys, is there anybody you would like to thank for this run today?
We gotta give a shout out to Tom. Mega work on him getting obviously the win for us at Mega Racing Team, but he put a good adjustability into the car before we got to the warm up before the race, and ultimately we ran what he had, and I mean it showed. He got the win for us, and we had 4 of us in the top 6, so it's a testament to how well we work together. And I got to thank Christian and Brent for making these races enjoyable for the major series. And yeah, it's just fun. I enjoy being, I'd say, having to adapt to different cars and different disciplines too. And it spending it with these guys, Tom, Brent, and Christian, makes it a lot more fun and enjoyable to participate with.
I would agree with all of that, and yeah, I mean, especially Tom was speaking on something in warm up, and he just seemed really, really confident with it, and I think the rest of us were like, yeah, well, we feel okay with what we were tweaking on, but he was like, no, I'm running this. I think it's gonna be good. So we all switched to that, and yeah, clearly it was the right decision. He obviously had it figured out, and he won the race. And I mean, it was definitely a hard fought win. So big congrats to Tom for pulling that off.
Brent, anybody for you?
Oh yeah, sorry. Really, I just want to thank my teammates. I mean, racing with these guys is such a privilege. They're great friends, and they're great to race with. I drive with Tom and Christian quite often, and it's always enjoyable. And yeah, it's great having the support of these guys, and it's a ton of fun racing with them.
Well, fantastic, guys. Thank you all so much. That was Brent Foster, Christian Challoner, and Nick Ottinger. Joe?
Up next, Adam has caught up with third-place finisher Travis Worling, who is pretty much a solo endeavor in and amongst that mix.
Yeah, Travis, I know third's not the position that you wanted to get, but I mean, after such a crazy finish and fighting your way back up through the field, you can't be too disappointed with that result.
Oh, no, not at all. Honestly, I'm more than thrilled with third at this point. To just be up there with Mega and, Christian and his entire team, to be able to fight for that win was very cool. And honestly, that probably the best finish of my career so far. So in terms of just that thrill and being able to make that move on the last lap. So
Absolutely, and last step on the podium as well. But that being said, Travis, early on you made a strategy call to head to the pits earlier than the rest of these guys. You had tires that were 50 laps younger than these guys by the end of the race. What was it that led you to make that decision, and was there any point in there where you were doubting whether that was the right one?
The decision was made because my crew chief software gave me 5 gallons less of fuel than I needed. So that was just me coming in to make absolutely sure that I wasn't going to run out and miss out on something. And I knew I could come through the field again. So that was just me playing it safe. And yeah.
Absolutely, and a fantastic finish as a result. Now, talk to me about those final laps. I mean, you actually had some door-to-door contact with the winner, with fourth place Britton Foster. So, how did you manage to save that one? I mean, that looked like a very scary moment.
Yeah, no, those last few laps were absolutely crazy. I wasn't expecting the speed that they had. I had actually set my fifth gear a little bit shorter to just kind of make sure I had a run. And these guys are so crazy fast that I was topping out, hitting the limiter about halfway down both straightaways. So I was just kind of hoping something would happen. And then that last lap, I saw the opportunity to duck under Christian and Tom to make it 3 wide. And I honestly don't know how we wrecked. I'm really glad we didn't wreck. I didn't really see him there until we both made contact, and I just kind of cranked it hard to the left to avoid whatever was about to happen. And unfortunately, I think that kind of screwed me over going into turn 1. I got really, really loose and almost spun it there. But yeah, overall, I'm thrilled with it. I'm glad that we were all able to finish cleanly. I was really kind of worried that by making it 3 wide, I would kind of wreck everyone, but I think skill prevailed in that one.
Well, now next round we head to our first wild card, the Porsche Cup wild card at Road Atlanta with the Porsche Cup 992. What are your thoughts heading into that round? I mean, it's a completely different discipline than what we just did tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Complete 180, which is why I love the majors. It's so cool to be able to go from something like this to a random Porsche car. I have no idea how that's going to go. I don't even own the car yet, so I'm just going to kind of see what happens. And it's going to be a very limited practice time for me because I have some real world racing things coming up. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, fortunately, you got a full month to work it up. But Travis Warling, third place today. Is there anyone you want to thank for your success tonight?
Yeah, real quick shout out to Insert Coin and EVL Box. They hopped on board this season to kind of support us and get us the practice time we needed with hosted sessions and everything. And then I really need to give a huge shout out to the entire team. This was the first race where we really, really came together well and kind of worked together and came up with a set that was obviously very, very competitive. So I truly could not have done it with all of their work. And I think we're proving that you don't need to have a ringer or someone who specializes in these cars to be able to compete up front, and I just can't thank them enough. So
you guys are definitely reminding us that the Major Series is all about that teamwork and making sure that you work together to make the dream work, for sure. But thanks for talking to us, Travis, and we look forward to seeing you next round.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was Travis Warling, who finished in third today, and Joe looks like he's caught up with Liam Quinn, who finished in fifth.
Yeah, we couldn't go away without talking to the fifth man involved in that 5 wide finish. And Liam, I was wondering if you knew off the top of your head a question we were trying to figure out during the race. When was the last time that you won a majors race, actually?
May 2020.
So yeah.
I've come close twice. I think Motegi and Auto Club I came close, but yeah, it's 2 years now.
Yeah, so it's been a bit of a minute, but of course, a top 5 against an incredible team and an amazing talent like Travis Warling. How does this one rank for you? Are you excited about how that one finished, or are you kind of kicking yourself that you couldn't get more stuck in?
No, I'm happy. You know, it's really good racing at the end of the day, and I think everyone did their best to accommodate that. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. At the end of the day, they had 3 guys on the same team, so it's hard to make a move without getting attacked. So it works out. I had a few moments at the end there. I think my tyres were pretty much gone anyway, so I was pretty lucky to finish.
You and a lot of those guys there in that top 5 were very squirrely, but much like Britton Foster, you qualified well down the order, 26, and somehow climbed up to the top 5. And what seemed like quietly from our perspective, because I didn't notice you until you started to hit about 9th or so. What was the race like from your perspective, and what put you so far down in quali?
Lack of time. Honestly, lack of time. I only had one night really to get something together set-wise. I was more confident in the race. I was more worried about, just getting through cleanly without being wrecked or whatever. But short ovals with this car isn't that far off what the Indy car is. So the same sort of strategy and racing it works. So the high line, I think, as Christian said, was just very, very good. So I just exploited that all the way around. There's very few who actually put up a defense against it. It's only really evolved, really, until I got to the front.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned the IndyCar because we're coming up to the month of May. But before we get to the IndyCars, we got to head off to the Porsches at Road Atlanta. Do you think you'll fare well there?
Qualifying will probably be similar to this round. Let's see. I've traditionally not been great in the Porsche, but I'll see what I can whip together.
Well, best of luck to you, and especially best of luck in the month of May because you're often a favorite over there. Anybody you want to thank for today's top 5?
Yeah, of course, the Kinetic guys always. It's always been a solid team. Christian and Mega guys as well. They helped out near the end to give me a set that wasn't completely useless. So I do appreciate that.
Well, congratulations. That was the 024 taking 5th place here today in the Jimmy Bryan 200 for the majors. And that's going to wrap us up. Before we go, though, of course, we want to thank both the sponsor and the charity. So the sponsor is, of course, the Majors Garage, and they can be found with a link in the description below. If you use our discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. And the charity is the Tomorrow Fund. We have another link in the description below for that one. And it is, of course, the tomorrowfund.org for that one, if you just want to type it in. Thanks goes to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, DJ, Ryan, Face, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because the next race, as we mentioned, is the Porsche Cup Wild Card, as the Europeans are going to be racing at Donington, and we will be racing at Road Atlanta. That'll be Sunday, May 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Americas region. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.